Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight my guests are, first up, it's our portly plodder, it's Danny the GFP.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. Kate reminded me that I shouldn't have said plodder.
No, I don't plod.
No.
I've not plodded for years. I see you're still on Wi-Fi. How's that going for you?
It's amazing, thank you.
You're a shitbag.
I was going to say, is that just how you roll?
I actually, the bearings in the front right caster are on the wonk at the moment. So when I try and do a quick, like a J-turn, the front right wheel doesn't want to spin, so it just clicks.
Do you know, I thought of you earlier.
Did you? Were you touching yourself inappropriately?
No, I was going around Tesco and had a trolley with a wonky wheel.
Oh, tell you what, saw in my life.
Right, next up, it's our wavy-haired wonder. It's Kris Carpenter. Hello, Kris.
Wavy-haired one. I've been called worse.
I've seen your latest haircut. Sorry, and you should be ashamed.
Really? I've been told it makes me look younger.
Makes you look something.
Hair envy, Gim, will get you nowhere.
People.
It will get you nowhere.
I have no hair envy. It's never been longer than me ears.
I'm growing to like it. I can get accustomed to this length.
All I want to know is who is your hairdresser, because he needs taken out, and not for a nice meal with satin sheets.
To be fair, she's quite fit, so
he works for the council, doesn't he? So he gets them to do it for him.
Literally, he gets some bloke round every couple of months with a lawnmower, and he leaves the clippings fucking everywhere.
I've got to conform to the local authority's standard dress code now, so I've got to look normal.
Wow.
Yes. It's good to be back, though. Hello.
Yes, it's lovely to have you back.
Well, thank you.
Next up, 28 toppings and a cherry Coke. It's Raj Patel.
Hello there, Gimli.
What's on the menu tonight?
I've been told not to breathe heavily into the microphone tonight.
Because the ladies can't cope with it.
They can just flick their beans. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it.
Normally you that does the heavy breathing, though, Danny. So
that's because I'm laughing at what you lot keep saying.
So how's life, Gim? How are you?
Oh, I'm in a windswept Wales. Everything, like the lid off my dustbin flew off.
Yeah, it was a big red sky this afternoon. It was glorious.
It's
the end of days, you see, for Arsenal. It's the end of days. The apocalypse is nigh.
It is. But we should talk about that later. And I'll introduce my final guest. And finally, straight out the valleys, it's our favourite Welshman, Jason Davis. Hello, Jason.
Hello, boyo. How are you?
How's the weather down there with you? I can almost see you sending smoke signals.
To be fair, pal, it's blowy. It's very, very blowy. It's there could be a bit of bad weather on the way.
Well, sorry for me. I'm up like miles higher than you.
Ah, fucking hell. I'm not being funny. On a nice, calm, sunny day, it's windy up there. It's top of the world, pal. They conquered Everest before they conquered Merthyr.
They certainly did. That's true. Judging from the state of some of the people here, they probably died trying.
The Walking Dead.
It literally is. As always, we go straight over to Danny, who has all the scores across the board. There's no lone watch, but there's a fantasy football special, something like that.
Oh, thank you for belittling my lifetime achievements. Right, I'll start with the under-23s. They're currently playing, and better refresh the page. It's 0-0 against... Oh, no. Good job I refreshed it. Dragomir. He scored goal. It's 1-0 to Arsenal against Sunderland. Matthew Debuchy started and then came off at half-time for someone called Medley. I wonder if it's him who used to do the ITV programme in the morning this morning. Maybe. And Jeff got stretchered off after 20 minutes, apparently, from what I was reading on Twitter. And up front, we have Chupa Chupa, who I thought was dead, and Nketiah. I think I might have said it right that time. But we'll leave that. And Coquelin, he came off at half-time as well. Fucking hell. The only two first-team players we got playing there, and they've both been taken off. Anyway, so in the under-23 league, we are fourth, but Liverpool are top. So we go on to the under-18s. When are we playing there? Oh, no, that was the under-18s window. I've just bloody closed you, tit. Okay, undo close window. Yeah, so they're in the under-23s league. If we win this, then we're going to be on 15 points, which will be 3 behind Liverpool, who have played 6, won 6. So that's not too shonky. Have I done it again? Have I got rid of the under? No, here we go. The under-18s. Played Southampton at the weekend, beat them 5-1. Yeah, that was the 14th of October. You'll be glad to hear, Gimli, you know our campaign, we want more double-barreled surnamed Arsenal players. We had quite, I know you're probably muted because you're probably sticking things out your bum. We've got Daley Campbell. What
Correct.
political party is he?
Monster Raven Looney Party.
Oh, how about this one? John Jules. I'm thinking the Rastafarian Party.
What was the one that Lord Buckethead?
No, this one. John Jules sounds like a DJ, doesn't he?
No,
and
that's
then we've
Judge
got
Jules, it?
Is it? Same thing.
Yeah.
And we've got Spencer Adams. He's got to be Lib Dem. And Daley Campbell, we already had him. He came off. Anyway, so John Jules, who else is his first name? T is for Tyrese John Jules. He scored 2 goals. We won 5-1, which is a magnificent thing. Until you go and have a look at the league table, and Chelsea are top, played 7-1-7, scored 23, conceded 3, and 2 of those 3 they can. Oi! Don't interrupt me.
You moan if I'm mute. You moan if I'm not mute.
Is that you coughing?
Get on with it.
Sorry. So we're second in the table, but we're 8 points behind the leaders after only 7 games. Might just fucking give up. Most of our players are going to leave anyway. Well, the ladies, they played in the Cup on the 12th of October, but we've been away for quite a while because of the international bullshit. We've played Barnett's laid team that is called the London Bees. We beat them 7-0. 2 goals from Mitchell, 2 penalties from Bethany Mead. So that's good. We're through to the next round of, I think it's the ladies' FA Cup. And then we have the injury room. Well, Chambers, hip, any day now. Koscielny, permanently fucked. Welbeck, 2 weeks hamstring. Cazorla, only 3 weeks till he's back. He's been out for 362 days. Oh, seems like almost a year. And Mustafi has got a thigh strain, and he'll be back in a month. So I think, wasn't that the first thing that Dom said in one of the WhatsApp groups, that that's Mustafi out for a month, and he was right.
Isn't it 6 weeks he's out for?
Oh, this is a month. Don't doubt the Dom. And then just a quick fantasy Premier League update. First place with cunning stunts is John. This is in the ABW League. Second place is Ellis Mel. Third is Simon Collins. Fourth is OG. Fifth is me. And then Goonaholic is 6th. Kris is 7th and last. And Josh is 8th. The podcast is 9th. Gimli, you're 10th. Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, very good. You got 17 points this week. Have you changed it since the opening day of the season?
No, I have not. I stick to my guns.
Have you any intentions of doing it?
No, I picked the team and I trust them.
And Carl is 11th and Shredder is 12th. And like I said, Kris is also 13th. Don't know why he's got 2 teams. Let's go and have a look at your team, shall we, Gimli, and see who you've got.
Go on, let's have a look at my team.
Have you got a fucking Man United player up front, you shit?
No, you said no Tottenham.
I wouldn't have any Tottenham or Man United. You've got Lukaku and Lacazette up front. You've got Willian, Kante. Kante's out for fucking ages. Shaqiri and Sanchez. And in midfield, defence, you've got Jagielka, Koscielny, Collison, I can't say it, Van Dijk, Louise, and Pickford in goal. You might want to sort that out. Then just the top 3 in the overall league, of which we've got about 20,000 people. Big John FC, Jonathan Chappell. And second place, it's Arsenal FCS with Stefan Pavlovsky. And then in third place, with #NetSpend, Kujan Patel. Bloody hell. Done. Yeah, so that's all she wrote, apparently.
That's the lot. So we'll continue on then by talking about our 2-1 away loss to Watford. A day to forget, wasn't it, Kris?
Yeah, a day in a long catalogue of days to forget. Once again, bring out your dad. It was, well, it's. I got so many things to say. It's been so long. So I'll just talk about the game first of all, I guess, and then we'll maybe pick it apart afterwards. I thought the lineup was fairly pretty much what I expected. I wasn't massively surprised not to see Ramsey and Ozil in the lineup, or Alexis for that matter, especially Alexis and Ramsey due to their midweek stuff that we won't talk about because Chase will get upset. But no, I think that takes quite a lot out of a player mentally. I wasn't hugely surprised. Obviously, Arsene Wenger thinks a lot of players' mental strength, etc. Pun intended. Yeah, I think that was not a massive surprise, and Iwobi has probably done enough to keep his place in the side. So lineup wise, yeah, I thought we had enough to beat Watford. Take nothing away from Watford. I think they've had a really good start. Marco Silva's clearly not a busted flush. Never forget Paul Merson and Phil Thompson's assessment of him last season. But no, I think he's a very, very good coach. He's tactically very astute, sets his teams out well. They've got some good players, Watford, and it's actually nice to see a club of that sort of size proving that the big guns can be outwitted. Unfortunately, it is often us that gets outwitted. And once the game got underway, I thought it was a largely forgettable, 90 minutes in truth. When we went in front, I sort of fully expected us to go on and get a second or a third, particularly when Watford started coming onto us. Mertesacker said it was quality, a proper old-fashioned. I do like a thumping header. That was a good goal. And at that stage, I just expected Watford to really give us spaces and gaps, and we weren't really clinical. The Mesut Ozil chance was just summed him up as a player when he came on. It summed up the performance, particularly after we shipped the equaliser. Lethargic and almost nonplussed, shrug of the shoulders. I'm sure we'll talk about the penalty that probably should never have been, let's be honest, but that's not an excuse for a defeat. And then obviously the winning goal was just an absolute just calamitous piece of team defending. The whole thing from start to finish was just an absolute aberration and so poor. And there are so many things we could go into, which I'm sure we will, and I'll let you break it down. But there's definitely a few mini rants I'd like to have when we drill into it. But it was just an overall rinse repeat of Arsenal away from home this season. 4 games away from home, 1 point. I think, is it 1 goal? That was the goal this weekend. It's not good enough. It's something we're almost having to expect now. It's the norm rather than the exception. And just to make it even more of a kick in the bollocks, we decide to go into the game knowing exactly what we've got to do to get points on our rivals, having already dropped points in the early part of the day, and spectacularly shit the bed as usual.
Okay, Raj, I know you've got a few things you want to ask Kris.
Kris hasn't been on the podcast for a while, so it's quite nice to have him on tonight. But I mean, Kris, can you put your finger on what the malaise is with our play over the season? I mean, I know we've won a few games, but they haven't been convincing performances. Leave the Europa League team to one side. They're having quite a good time of it actually at the moment. But what are your theories on why this is all happening to us?
It's a tough one, Raj. I mean, I think like everyone that there's so many different strands to go into. The manager has to take a large chunk, absolutely. And, I'm not going to sit here and bang the Arsene Wenger drum. That I think it's been done to death. Everyone knows which side of the camp I sit in, but he has to take some responsibility. I think the recruitment in the summer was poor. Again, obviously everyone knows that my feelings on Lacazette. I think he's already shown already that there's a player there, and it's an excellent piece of business. But there was more needed to be done. I actually go back on my own thoughts of keeping Alexis and Ozil. I think we've missed out on an opportunity to get rid of 2 clearly bad apples. It's something actually I got told today from somebody I wouldn't necessarily would think would lie to me, which I'll bring up in a second about Alexis. But it's just the whole thing, and I think, I don't know whether you feel the same, Raj, but it's just from board all the way down. We've got an owner who clearly cares about money and not the club. We've got a chief executive who, whilst has been good at elements of his job, doesn't have a backbone and doesn't follow through in his apparent desires to take the club forwards. We got a manager who I now believe cares so much about leaving the club in a good place that he's actively sort of doing the wrong things to do it, if that makes sense. He's not thinking about the here and now. He's desperately trying to put us in a position that when he does go, we're still set up in a good way. And the longer it goes and the longer these mistakes happen, it makes you wonder if even if we were to sign the very elite players in the world, which we've said on this podcast a number of times, we could still sign some very big name players. if they're not being coached correctly, or they're being coached by the same coaches in the same ways that don't work, and we're being out tactically thought by a manager of Watford. I don't want to disrespect them, but it's Watford. And when you see what a club like Man City go and do to Watford, I know it's different teams. There's just the whole way through the club is just a big, dare I say, sort of yellow cowardly streak. And I'll definitely drill into that a little bit later, but the whole thing just smells to me at the moment, and I the worst part is I don't know what way we're playing. I don't see the style of play that we're trying to conduct, and the back three thing. I still to this day don't think it works. I just don't. I think it provided us with a brief bit of respite, and now here we are again in the same position, looking at what could have been on the back of another poor defeat.
Jace, what did you think of Troy Deeney's comments about us not having balls?
Where was Troy Deeney when we beat them 4-1 last year? We had the same after the FA Cup defeat from Gomez. I think it's a bit of a cheap shot, to be honest with you, from, the guy's a Premier League player, there's no doubt about that, but, he thinks he's better than he is, and it's a cheap shot. Yes, we did capitulate on the day, but the same team went to Chelsea and was by far the better team. And you can say after the Palace defeat on Saturday, well, that's where Chelsea's at. Maybe so, but, I think Kris is right now. We spoke about the beginning of the season where the culture at the club is all wrong. We were promised change in the summer. Nothing's happened. How many times does Ozil get away with being lackluster? How many times do we allow people to not perform to their optimum levels, on a regular basis? But again, I think, Arsene's made a rod for his own back. You've got to make up a squad. If you look at the midfield alone, in the summer, we're all crying out for a midfielder. You've got Jack, who's coming back from injury, and even putting him on Saturday is not going to change the world. He's had 2 good performances against Sparta, Borisov, and Doncaster fucking Rovers. You've got Santi Cazorla, who apparently is back in 3 weeks. Well, let's wait and see on that, is it? Because if we see him this side of Christmas, I'll be amazed. Then you've got Coughlin and El Nene, who, and no disrespect to anyone, but they're bang average. Okay, I like El Nene. He gives you 7 out of 10. He's never going to set the world alight. Then you got Ramsey, who needs to be managed, and you got Xhaka, who's not the most mobile in the world. That sums up our squad. That sums up the club at the moment. Bits are broken. When we haven't got enough foresight to go out and fix it. And you see players who, other teammates see players who don't give 110% week in, week out. Xhaka stood there ball watching. Ozil stood there ball watching. There's a malaise throughout the club, and unfortunately, he's lost the dressing room. No ifs, no buts. Arsene Wenger has lost the dressing room because, we hear rumours about it quite a lot. I was surprised by certain players who want him gone. I really was, but it can't carry on like this. And all, I start from the top where you got Kronk, who's not got enough foresight, or he just can't be bothered. As long as the money's rolling in, he can't be bothered to change anything. You got Gazidis and Wenger briefing against each other, not working together, and that has spread throughout the playing side of it. You have Wojciech Szczesny today basically saying, from entering the first team, I didn't improve technically as a player at the Arsenal until I left for Roma. Well, that's a damning indictment on Payton, the goalkeeping coach. But we've known this, we've all known this for ages. So, there's no impetus, there's no ambition to change things for the better. And when there's no ambition, unfortunately, the blame lies squarely at Arsene Wenger's door and at Ivan Gazidis' door. They can brief against each other as much as they want. Okay, but the truth of the matter is they are both culpable, along with Conker, in allowing this to happen. And the really sad thing about it, we've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to sort it out. But, Kris talks about this being, Lacazette's a great signing, blah, 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 Glaston's a great signing. But we let ourselves down this transfer window. We've let ourselves down transfer window after transfer window after transfer window. The culture's rotten. And, we're lucky we have got a good squad of players, not on Saturday's performance, but where we will gain a certain number of points and be competitive to a point. But something's got to change for us to get top 4 and to win trophies this season, because that performance, it did lack balls, but I just don't want to hear it of Troy Dean. He was a fuckwit.
Just on your point there, Jace, about what you made about the players who are kind of not putting it in fully, but the mistakes we made in the summer. The thing I was referring to then, I spoke to somebody today, sort of via Twitter and on a DM, and he was saying to me that he's got it on pretty good authority that Alexis now he basically keeps himself to himself in the dressing room. That when in the summer, the decision was made to keep him. If you remember rightly, Arsene Wenger said that he would speak to the player when he returned from international duty at the Confed Cup. He'd see, where his head was at, and he'd introduce him gradually. And the talk was that was their way of essentially testing the water in the transfer market. When we get him back, let's see what his attitude's like in trading, see how he blends with the group, see if he's going to sulk, then make a decision. The decision was taken at the very last part of the transfer window to sell him. Again, this is purely going by what I gathered from the French element, that the Lamar deal was, I know we joke, but was very close to being done. And the only thing that stopped that from happening was that the player was on bloody international duty, which in itself is stupid on our part, thinking we could get a deal done when a player's about to run out for a key qualifier. But all of this talk of, he wanted to stay at Monaco, he didn't want to join us, he preferred Liverpool, that's horseshit. The player was very keen to join Arsenal, but logistically it couldn't get done. And that was all down to the fact that we left our supposed star player to basically call his own shots. We didn't take that opportunity to lay the law down and say to this player, no, if you're not 100% committed and you want to go somewhere, let him go to Man City. We seem to be a team that facilitates the star players far more than the club itself. And when I heard what this person said to me today, and saying that essentially now he turns up and it's all smiles in training when the camera's around, and it's all, he's saying all the right things in interviews and stuff. But the truth is, he's counting the days to January. He's in the corner of the dressing room on his own. He doesn't even engage his teammates, and yet we're still insisting, or Arsene Wenger is still saying in the press, that he thinks things can change. I mean, doesn't that reek mentality?
Yeah, but Kris, this has been going on for a while, I mean, this isn't new from Sanchez, is it? We've heard stories about this for a while now, okay? Mm-hmm. But when you look at it, the culture's been allowed to happen. When you see Mesut Ozil in big games going missing and nobody calling him out, okay? This has been happening for far too long, and to think we can get something done last minute when there is internationals on, you've got to be an imbecile to do that. Okay, you've really got to be an imbecile to do that. Now, I've heard today, we've heard today that, even sort of major players who you love want him out, want Arsene gone. Okay. Now, I don't know what Raj thinks on this, but when you're looking at the club as a whole, we don't call anybody out on poor performance. The manager doesn't get called in it, the players don't get called in it. How on earth are we supposed to move on unless we're looking at our issues honestly and facing up to them? We were promised change in the summer, nothing's changed. We're not honest with ourselves as a football club, and that's where the problem is. I mean, Raj, what do you think in it?
It is what it is, Jason. I mean, we're well into the season with the transfer windows finished. We've got a January transfer window coming up where we may well see the departures of Sanchez or Ozil or even both. It's possible that we may just get rid of them now because they're not really contributing to the team in any way. And I'm seriously unimpressed with their attitude. And I've always thought that if a player, no matter how good he is, doesn't want to play for the Arsenal, then he must go. And we've got to carry on. But in terms of wanting any sort of change, it's not going to happen. You know, Gazidis tried to change things in the summer, and basically Kroenke went over his head and appointed Arsene Wenger for 2 more years and gave him a £2 million increase. So we're stuck with that, and I think we just have to see what happens over the next 3 or 4 months. I mean, the problem I think is that I disagree with you slightly, Jason, about Troy Deeney, in that I think he was quite right. We didn't have any bollocks, and I've got this. And he said also that, you know, teams now, when they play Arsenal, that there's no fear. And although we'll still win the majority of our games this season, we are going to lose some because teams don't worry about getting thrashed or being outplayed because they all think they've got a chance. So it's all deflating, you know. I mean, I think there's a lot of disinterest now with the fans. I think we just watch the games and hope we win. But if we lose, when we lost the game on Saturday night, again, it was quite emotionless for me. I was happy when Per scored the goal. Delighted for him, actually. It was his first goal in his first start in months. But when we lost the game, I just sat there. I wasn't fuming.
Same, Raj.
I wasn't screaming or shouting. And I tell you what, a lot of people think that's quite sad, and it probably is quite sad, you know. But we've got, as fans, some of us have got big decisions to make over the next 6 or 7 months, because if it carries on like it is, we're not moving forward or moving to that fabled next level, then people like me who've been going to the Arsenal for 40 years now are going to go, well, actually, do I want to spend another £2,000 on this? And, you know, can I spend my money better? And it's a horrible thought, and it's a frightening thought for me, because I actually crossed my mind the other day as, do I want to just go there? But, you know, there is that social side of the thing of going to the stadium, which is still appealing. But there's a lot of things going on, and sadly, a lot of fans aren't interested anymore. Danny, what do you think?
Wow, bloody hell, that's a lot of stuff to get through. Well, first of all, I agree with Chris. The lineup is kind of what I expected, because you have Sanchez and Ramsey are in mourning, and I think that's a bullshit excuse not to be playing. It's good to see the captain back and the captain scoring a goal. But I think there's a few things that we need to put into perspective here. We're on the same number of points as Chelsea and Liverpool that have gone out in the summer and spent an absolute fuckload of money. Man City doesn't look like they're going to... Last season, didn't they win 9 Premier League games in a row? And we thought, that's it, it's all over. And then they fell apart. I don't think they're going to do that this time, because De Bruyne and Jesus and this is without even Aguero. And we've lost to Stoke and Watford. And Man City have gone and beat those 6-0 and 7-2. Now that doesn't show. I mean, one that we're home and away, and I think that does make a bit of a difference. But that just shows the kind of gulf that is now going between Man City, who are winning the Premier League with style, Man United, who are going to win the Premier League. They're going to grind it out like the days of George Graham, when it was just go out there, get an away point, win your home games, win the games against the shit teams away. But then you got to look at the fact that with Xhaka, what was he doing? If I was in that team, I'd say to Xhaka, okay, you're following cleverly, right? Is there an invisible barrier that we can't see? Why did you follow cleverly all the way to the edge of the penalty area and then go stop? Is it a zonal marking thing? Because apparently we do that, and I have no idea about whether we do or not. I know, Jace, you were talking about that on the radio show. And then... But I do feel a bit bad for Wenger, because he doesn't tell them to go out there and lose. And I do think that starting Iwobi, who for me should be a sub-player only, he's at that stage of his career where you can't play him all the time. It's like, I can't remember who it is, but they're always saying, why can he only play for 60 minutes? What is wrong with a young man who can only play for 60 minutes? After he's had a fantastic game playing for Nigeria and scored the goal that got him through to the World Cup in midweek. But Danny Welbeck is another player who I don't think I don't like to see him playing. He scored a few goals, but I'll never have confidence in Danny Welbeck that he's going to do much. But I feel sorry for Wenger, because we're winning 1-0, everything's going swimmingly. He thinks, okay, Welbeck's got injured, no problem. We've got one of our best players to bring on. He may be a little bit ring rusty, but we bring him on, and then things are going all right. And then I think he has to have some kind of gentleman's agreement with Giroud. You stay at Arsenal because he could have gone to lots of clubs. I know Everton wanted him, but you stay and you will get Premier League games. So it seems to be that around the hour mark, most games, Lacazette comes off, no matter how good or bad he's doing, and Giroud comes on, and that's not really a bad thing. It means Lacazette isn't going to get worn out. It means Giroud's going to come on, and he might do like what he did last season, and change the dynamics of the game because you're no longer playing the through balls to him or no longer relying on pace, although like Kris was saying, you shouldn't have to rely on pace when it comes to Lacazette because that's not really what his game's about. He's just a really skillful goal scorer. And then Koscielny gets injured and you think, oh, for fuck's sake. Right, we were about to bring Jack on and then we'd have sort of had this problem on another podcast. I said solidify. Is that a word?
Yes.
Yeah, solidify the midfield and then make sure that the game ends 1-0 and then we're doing all right. And then you think, oh no, it's 1-1 now and we can't bring Wilshere on because Koscielny's got injured. So you've used up one sub you didn't really need to have to with Giroud, and the other sub, well, you had to do because of Welbeck. I mean, how often in the last about half hour of a game have we had 2 injuries and it's messed up his substitution? Because if that wouldn't have happened, then Wilshere probably would have come on and the game would have ended 1-1 because they scored in the 71st minute. So it would have been about 1-1. And you think an away draw against Watford, a team that are a bit of a bogey team with us. I was looking at a site and it said in top flight history, we've played them 20 times. We've won 10, they've won 10. Remember, they knocked us out of the FA Cup. They beat us last season. And they used to quite regularly beat us. I was looking back at the 80s. They used to regularly beat us home and away. It seems to be a bit of a bogey team. So you got to feel for Wenger a little bit because you can't really plan for that sort of stuff. But going back to the Xhaka thing, I'd want to know to him, what the fuck are you doing? Why have you just run after him and then just stopped dead on the edge of the area? Has anyone come up with any kind of reason for that? And then with a penalty, like who was it? I think Martin Keown was saying that if they'd have had a penalty like that, it was such a touch and go penalty. It's a little bit. They did touch knees, but not enough to go down. But this bloke has only just come over from the Brazilian leagues where it's the thing. That's the problem Neymar had when he went to Barcelona. He was diving all the time, and they love a bit of diving in Spain. But here's the ridiculous levels of diving when you're playing in the top leagues in Brazil. You're expected to do it. So that's what he's done. But no one complained. Bellerin went, oh, it's not really a penalty. And that was it. Imagine in the old days. Now, we can't keep going on about the old days. But in the old days, like with Keown and Adams, they'd have been around the referee, and the referee would have been scared to give a penalty unless it was a cast iron penalty. And they don't seem to be really bothered. Mertesacker's breathing out of his arse. He's bending over, holding onto his knees. He's struggling because for match fitness. Petr Cech yet again has let in a penalty. I mean, I know that with most penalties, the majority of the time, it's going to be the penalty taker is if he gets it on target, you're more than likely going to score. So you can't blame Cech too much for that. But it is alarming the number of penalties that we've had, and Cech hasn't saved them. And Monreal had a quiet game, and you got to look at other players like Kolasinac. What did he do with the whole game? Bellerin isn't the same player he used to be, and there's been a lot of talk and some of the questions coming up. Should we drop Xhaka for Wilshere? And I think if Wilshere has a good game against Red Star Belgrade in the week, I reckon if he has a good game and he comes out of it and he plays the full 90 minutes, I reckon we could see Wilshere starting, because something needs to be done in that midfield. Because the cock, I mean, he's come off today in the under-23s at half-time. I don't know if that's because of a recurrence of his injury or whether it's just a safety thing.
Yeah, that's quite normal. They bring players back for a half and then take them off. It's pretty normal.
Or hopefully that's what it is. But we something needs to be done, because there seems to be no emphasis on just getting in there and getting stuck in, and it's so frustrating to see. You just want to have. You got people like Xhaka and Kolasinac who are known head cases, but they're not doing anything. I mean, no, for this one game they haven't done. I just think we're unlucky. I don't think it's the end of the world. We're on the same points as Chelsea and Liverpool. We're only 2 points behind the scum. It's not the end of the world, but I don't hold out much hope for it. Like Raj was saying, a lot of people have got to make a decision whether they're going to put up with this, because they have been leaving in droves. So many people don't bother going anymore. And like I said, the last time I actually celebrated an Arsenal goal was the 2 in the FA Cup final. And that's it. I really am so apathetic about it anymore. Like, I don't know if anybody wants to say what Fife was saying in the group. Kris, you read that, and we were talking about 9 this morning before I went to bed. What was the gist of what Fife was saying?
I'd have to look back now. I can't remember what he was
Gimli
saying.
read it. Gimli.
What was it? I didn't read nothing.
You read it to me. What Fife was saying? That he's just the whole atmosphere.
I read it to you.
Oh, go on in, Jace.
Fife is kind of bored of the sort of political side of football at the moment, where he can't be bothered with Twitter because everybody's just trying to make their own points valid, etc. He's sick of the malaise around it. But but that's been there for a while, I think, on Twitter, etc., on social media, where it's, I do take your point, Danny. It wasn't a penalty Saturday. We were a tad unlucky, but the second goal, we were atrocious. But the bottom line is, we showed very little attacking intent or effective attacking intent. He could have brought Wilshere on and gone to 4 at the back.
That's what Arscast was saying, and that's a bloody good point.
There's a number of options that could have happened, but Fifey's just bored with it. Gim, I don't know what you think on it all, pal.
Listening to you boys, I think it's. I disagree with Danny and keeping Lacazette fresh. I think you pay that kind of money on a striker, and I want to see him playing 90 minutes.
I wouldn't do it at all. I'd keep him on play the entire 90 minutes.
First of all, for me
I kind
as
of
well.
understand why.
But no, for me as well. I judging on that game, I would have loved to have seen Wilshere play. He didn't have he had an international break. He didn't play any football. You would have thought that he would have been ready to go. The Welbeck injury, again, I'm probably with you on that one, Danny. I don't think that Danny Welbeck is Arsenal quality. I think, he has plenty of heart, but when you think about it, does heart win you football matches? Surely you've got to have the ability as well. For me, it was just sad. It was a sad game to watch. I thought the substitutes were wrong. We were screwed by the referee and the linesman. But really, you can't really blame that. A lot of it, Arsenal should be putting these kind of games to bed. 1-0 Mertesacker. I would have liked to have seen a second goal. It's just bland, isn't it? It's bland. I mean, I've got some questions here for you guys. I've put here, obviously, I wrote the podcast notes earlier that there would be a 2-game ban for Richarlison. Is that his name, Richarlison? I think it is. But apparently the FA has said that it was a foul and it should have been a penalty. So, Jace, I want to go to you on your thoughts. I mean, that's a shocking decision, isn't it?
It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. There was. I keep on hearing people say, and it's the Michael Owens of this world. Oh, when you're running at pace, it doesn't take much to knock you over. Well, it does. It does. It does take a lot. The guy's clearly dived. Hector's gone in for the challenge. He's pulled out. They have lightly brushed each other. The guy's going down before he even makes contact. And this is where I have an issue. And you had people on BT Sport saying it's a penalty. Yeah, there are so many agendas out there, which I think, Fifey was referring to in the group earlier on. Everybody's got an agenda. It's always a sound bite to make yourself look clever.
They're trying to twist it to their own needs to try and make themselves look good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Ian Wright said he would have wanted the penalty though if it had been him as a striker.
Yeah. But let's be honest, right? He's taken a couple gone down easily in the past. Okay, we Bobby Pires used to go down easily. But we used to get caught with Ruud van Nistelrooy a lot of the time. This isn't the first time this sort of thing has happened. Okay, but it shows the FA's lack of will to do anything about diving. To be honest with you, it's a clear dive. I do feel sorry for referees because it is difficult for them. I don't know whether the referee is positioned at that point. I haven't looked at that, but if you're at a certain angle, it could look stone cold to you. But again, you should be going back and hammering this guy with they should take points off the team. They should reverse. Because even if he was banned for it, it doesn't do us any good. We've still lost the 3 points.
But this thing, Jason, this penalty, this is a point I wanted to make earlier on, and it seems a good time to bring this in now. The penalty that we conceded, scored by Troy Deeney, 71st minute, right? So you've got, with stoppage time, you've got about 25 minutes of the game to go, okay? Let me take you back. This will probably be a slightly sore subject for you, Jason, in particular, but for all Arsenal fans, February the 27th, 2010. Okay, Aaron Ramsey has his career hanging by a thread after that fuckwit from Stoke goes through him. Now, that Arsenal side there, I look at that Arsenal side there, and the typical argument that people bring up is, well, you know, Patrick Vieira and Manuel Petit, and, you know, we've done it on this podcast tonight, Martin Keown, they wouldn't have stood for that. They'd have ranted about the penalty. Well, that side that night had Samir Nasri, it had Emmanuel Aboué, it had Nicholas Bentner, Cesc Fabregas. There wasn't the big personalities that you think of Arsenal, you know, of old. And that night, a game-changing incident, albeit not a penalty, a very serious injury, but that team were galvanised. You know, I still remember that celebration in front of the fans with Cesc Fabregas. It was emotional. There was tears in the guys' eyes because they wanted to win that game, because they took the game by the scruff of the neck and they went, hang on a minute, we've been wronged here. We need to put this right. You know, we'll do this for our fallen guy. And Hector Bellerin's reaction, I'm not getting on Hector's back, but it just sort of shrugged, and it's just like, well, yeah. And there was no fight, there was no desire to change the game.
But Chris, they lack the art of motivating themselves.
They do. It was just an acceptance.
I'm going to come in on this, okay, simply because, you know, the Aaron Ramsey thing was a culmination of Diaby, Eduardo, Ramsey. Okay, the third time these guys have seen it happen. Okay, I'll also take you back to Wrexham. Watching Tony Adams, Steve Bold, etc., go to Wrexham, okay?
Reigning FA Cup champion holders.
Yeah, you know, we all know we were league champions at the time. I'm pretty sure we were league champions. You know, we all look back at previous Arsenal teams and previous players with rose-tinted glasses at times. Don't tell me fucking Tony Adams didn't capitulate on the pitch, because he did at times, okay? You know, I've seen us do some dog shit games with Adams, Keown, Vieira in there, okay? You know, these guys, they are Arsenal legends, and I think they're Arsenal legends, but they're not perfect. Nobody is. But I suppose, but I think, you know, I do agree with you. On Saturday, it was a kind of resignation, but it all stems from the fact, if you're Xhaka, okay, and people talking for Xhaka to be dropped, well, who are you going to play instead of him? Because Jack's got 2 good games under his belt against dog shit opposition.
Oh, the whole Jack thing's doing my head in. There's nothing against the guy, but
no,
wow.
He's got to have time to come back and find his footballing feet.
Half a season. He's not just 2 games.
He's not Premier League match fit, nowhere near. Okay, but when you look at it, okay, right? So Jack is looking forward, and that's all he can see is Ozil, and I'm going to say it, noncing about. Not making an effort, stood there. He has a perfect opportunity to put the game to bed. He bottles it again. Okay, and I no doubt what's going through everybody behind him at that point, and saying, "Oh, for fuck's sakes, we're playing with 10 men again," and that's going to have a ripple effect.
And then he just wandered off, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't start punching the floor, screaming. Just went, "Never mind."
Yeah, but then, you know, it's not just the Ozil thing as well. It's Sanchez being on his own in the dressing room. This culture has been allowed to develop. And that's the problem. Sorry, Raj, what do you think of that?
About what? Sorry, I was eating chocolate.
Don't.
So was Mesut Ozil, I think, and on the bench.
Because what do you think of the comment that so many people say, "Oh, it's not his job to defend"?
I just think they're just lacking any sort of motivation, as I've just said. I don't know what's going on in their heads, and I think they are more full of fear than the opposition most of the times. And is it because the fans are on their backs all the time? I don't think so. I mean, that home game that we had last week, where we won the game, we didn't play particularly well, but my God, the atmosphere was dead as a dodo. I mean, it was unreal. So they've got to suck it up and grow some bollocks now. Honestly, it's no good. You can't. There's nothing you can defend about them. You know, and you can't keep blaming. You know, much as I'd love to blame Arsene Wenger, you can't keep blaming him. It is right. Once you get on the pitch, you need to do something. But you could see what was happening as soon as the penalty, whether or not you agree with the penalty, it was 1-1. And you could see what was going to happen next, and it happened for the next 20 minutes. We're up against it, and it was no surprise that they scored a goal in the 92nd minute. There was no surprise whatsoever. So, you know, I mean, I don't know what's going on. It's all a bit sad, but it's also a little bit unacceptable. In fact, a lot unacceptable. You know, people are paying a lot of money to see these footballers play the games, and they're getting paid $100,000 a week and stuff, and then they're putting it out on the pitch. It's not acceptable. Kris?
No, I agree, Raj. I just, as I say, I mean, the other point I was going to mention is the point that Danny brought up there about the apathy. You know, and I'm at that point where, as you said yourself earlier on, like, it's the first pod I've done, and it's the middle of October, and it's nothing against you boys. Now, albeit, yeah, I've got a lot of work commitments at the moment, so that's the main reason I've not been on. But I genuinely get sick of watching Arsenal, talking about Arsenal at the moment. You know, you can't walk up to somebody on the street and walk up to someone who's a football fan and say, tell me what you think about Arsenal, without them going, well, you Wenger in, you Wenger out. It's just painful, and it's so, as Fifey said, the politics of it. And I know that modern football's changed. I know it's not 1994, 95 anymore. We all have to accept there's a lot of money in the game, and players are mercenaries, and all that goes with it. But it's just an apathy. That's a great word. And I openly admitted in the group to a few of the boys on Saturday, at half time, I just did housework, you know, because I was just bored watching us. You know, the passion I have for the club is still there. It's still at the bottom of a sort of an ash-ridden furnace, but it's still there. But it's not the same kind of passion, because I just don't feel that the club is progressing forwards. And it is, you know, I do understand the fans that say, oh, you know, you support Arsenal. What about the Leyton Orients and the I don't know, the clubs that have gone out of existence? I get that, and it's not just all fans who are moaning, but it is difficult when you do support a club that has had so much success and has won trophies in recent years, but you don't really feel like you're progressing forwards in any way, shape or form. There's no pattern, there's no direction. Dom said it 1,000 times. There's no way there's no style of play anymore. There's not the Arsenal way. We were always that club everyone wanted to watch, and now everyone's, you know, talking about Man City, and rightly so, whatever I think of how they've constructed that squad. You know, and I just find it so sort of hard to get excited, and but for obviously I've got a lot of passion for a lot of European football, and I watch a lot of different teams. You know, I sat and watched a Milan derby last night. I sat and watched a big game between two French clubs on Friday, and everything about those games is different. The atmosphere is different. You know, the fans' perception, the drive, the motivation of the players, the will to win. And ours, you know, I'm sure they're trying their best. I'm sure they are. But it just comes across that our fans are so just shrug of the shoulders. And as you said earlier on, Raj, you know, the old days, I remember, albeit I'm a bit older now, but the old days, if I had a missus or plans with the boys the weekend, if Arsenal lost on a Saturday afternoon, that's my weekend ruined. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to go for a meal with the missus. Didn't want to do anything. I was just miserable. Now I go, oh, well, thank God that's over, on with my weekend. And that's a sad indictment of somebody like myself who's supported the club 23 odd years now.
There's a resentment now, funny enough, sometimes with me, especially the last couple of weekends, where you're resenting the fact that you're kind of using up 3 of your hours watching the Arsenal play, because you got better things to do. And that's where the danger is. The danger is, forget about the play on the pitch and all that. The danger for the club is that fans start to get disconnected from the team, and where they don't care anymore. And that's happening more and more. We don't have our crowd favourites on the pitch and stuff like that. Jack is probably the most popular player at the club at the moment, and he doesn't get a game. So the club have got to be very careful how this kind of goes about over the next couple of years, because if we start leaving in droves or just not interested anymore, we might well renew our season tickets, but only turn up to a few of the games and not all of the games. It's dangerous territory. What do you reckon, Jason?
Yeah, do you know what's been going through my mind for the last couple of days? It was the Palace game last season. You're not fit to wear the shirt, that ringing out from the stands. And I genuinely felt like that at the end of the game on Saturday. And we did the radio show, and as you boys have said already, you know, in the past, I remember being when we started the radio show with Kris, losing away to Stoke 3-1 when Wenger fell in the train station afterwards and he slipped over, and I was furious, you know. And the rant is there on social media for everybody to see. I was so angry, you know, and it was quite easy to keep calm during the radio show after the game on Saturday, because it's the same old story. But I you know, we can say we can accept that these players are mercenaries and they're out for themselves, and you know, that's just the way football's gone, etc. But I kind of see it. They're stealing your fucking money. They're stealing your fucking money. They're stealing your fucking money when they can't be asked to put the effort that's required in on the pitch. When people work hard for their money, we don't live in fucking professional football or Wonderland. You know, people have got to save up for their season tickets. People have got to really, you know, work hard for the money that they spend at that club. And you go in the armory and it's all there to be sold to you. You know, you go in, hot dogs a tenner, beers a fiver, whatever. And these cheeky fuckers, you know, they keep on putting these performances in, and oh, you know, we're so upset for the fans. Fuck off social media and fucking get on the training pitch and put a bit of fucking effort in. That's how I feel about it. I'm getting angry again now, because it does make me sick that Mesut Ozil wants 300 grand a fucking week, because the cheeky cunt's not worth 30 quid a week at the moment. And I don't give a fuck about his stats, and I don't give a fuck about the fanboys. And people thinking Jack's the answer? Bullshit. He may be popular, okay, but he's got 140 league appearances in 9 years, and he's going to break down again. And that's what makes me sick. And it's not his fault, to be fair. It's not his fault, you know. He will put the effort in, but they got the cheek to ask for a fucking pay rise every single fucking time a contract comes about. Well, where are the trophies? Where's the effort? If we were, you know, losing a thriller 4-3 where they've left everything out on the pitch, I got no problem with that. But it's not like that anymore, is it? It's not like that.
You know what? You know. Sorry, Justin. Go on.
Sorry. And the only thing I want to leave it with is, you know, you don't want much, but you want commitment, and it's not there.
You know what enraged me the last couple of defeats that we've had is the same line came out from Theo and a couple of others after the game, and the line was, you'll all remember this, they wanted it more than us. Have you noticed that? They said it twice now. Yeah,
Mertesacker said it, yeah.
And it's like, well, hold on. You're fucking on £150,000 a week, mate. And you don't have that will to win a game.
But do you not think
Raj,
do you not think that's insulting to every single person who's bought a shirt, who's attended at the ground, who's paid their Sky subscriptions? It's an insult.
It's a massive insult. I do apologise, Raj. I'll come straight. But it's fucking indicative of the club as a whole as well. And for those cheeky cunts to fucking go on social media and say this sort of thing afterwards, okay? You know, I want to slap every single one of them. But I'm sorry, that's a stupid thing to say. But you want to shake them. You know, you want to fucking take them to work with you the next day and say, there you go, fucking sit there and work out, you twat. And then you get paid the fucking pittance that we get paid in comparison to you. So, sorry, Raj, I do apologise.
No, that's all I would say. It's just this is the whole symptomatic situation we've got here. It's that they don't care anymore, you know, and that when they don't care anymore, we've got no idea what's going on backstage in the dressing rooms and all that kind of stuff. But if they don't care, and they put those performances out that they have done for a lot of this season, then we're not going to care. And I'll go back to my original point. That's when it gets dangerous for the club, because yes, you can argue that we can all walk away and go, fuck that, you know, I'll watch them on TV when I have to. If I've got a chance, I'll watch them on TV, but I'm not going to spend any money. But that stadium will still be full, because it'll be full of day trippers and tourists and all that kind of stuff. And being owned by an American who knows all that kind of stuff, he'll just turn it into day tickets and stuff like that. So there's no danger of the club, you know, going downhill in terms of wealth in any way, shape or form. But in terms of ethos, history and tradition and everything that we've all kind of been brought up on, and so should some of the players, that's all going to go down the drain. And that's going to be very, very sad, I think. I think the next couple of years, you know, it's perhaps not what goes on the pitch now, but everything else. And how that the board can make attempts to reconnect with the fans, because we moaned about it. The BSM moaned about it 9-10 years ago. Everyone laughed at us, But I think it's now coming to fruition. So, and I don't want it to happen. I still love the team. I still love the club. But, how many more weeks of this can we tolerate? We've got Everton away next Sunday.
But the thing is about Everton, right? They're on a really bad run of form.
You know what's going to happen.
Make them look like Barcelona.
You can see it coming, can't you?
You can see it coming. Kris is spot on. You can see it coming. And I'll tell Danny, get your pen out. 3-1 to Everton.
While I get a chance, just quickly.
You can see it coming. Koeman's fighting for his job. He is desperate to cling on.
Rooney hat-trick.
Perfect opponent.
It's a Rooney hat-trick. It's fantastic. I mean, you could see it coming. If we win, fantastic. When we should expect to win against a team that's been playing so poorly, they've spent so much money, and they can't do anything at the moment. But you can see it coming. So, I don't know. Let's try and cheer up. But we've got the team have got to get the fans on their side.
That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But they have to try. They're getting paid enough, and Jason is spot on. It angers people that they have to scrape and save to get tickets to see the club that they've been brought up to support all their lives, and they get to see that, and they get to see glib comments like they were more up for it than us.
So, sorry, I'm just going to say something here now. I remember a couple of years ago, it's before I joined the podcast, but I was on Twitter, and Jeff had a pair for Norwich away, and this woman tweeted him, I'll take him, how much are they? And Jeff gave the amount back and said she wanted to take a young boy, and she said, I can only afford so much. And Jeff said, well, don't worry about it, have the tickets, I'll take care of the rest, not a problem. Because that's how Jeff is. We all know Jeff, we all know he's a good guy, and he's a top man in that respect. And everybody said, that's so generous of you, Jeff, and what have you. You don't see, if these players had to see that sort of thing, and I know it's only social media, but that's what people do. They spend all they've got for this woman's student, all she's got for that week or whatever, to take her boy to watch the Arsenal. And Jeff's had to, come in and help her out a little bit. And yet, they live in this bubble, which I'm sorry. I think there's a massive disconnect between the players and fans already. I think it's dreamland now, but they haven't got the professional pride to put out the performance that should be prerequisites to represent the Arsenal.
Can I ask Raj a quick question as well, Jason? Or anyone? But...
Yeah. But I'm just going to finish off with. We've in the last few years, we've had the money in place, we've got the facilities in place, we've got everything in place to take us forward, and it's one step forward, 2 steps back.
Okey. Yeah, Raj, I wanted to ask you is if you, again, I don't want to turn us into manager debate, but if Arsene Wenger was to turn around tonight and say, look, truth is, Kroenke's been keeping nude pictures of me, and he's got something over me, and do you know what? It's time for me to go. I'm going to go and do some gardening in Islington. If he walked out tonight and a new manager came in tomorrow, other than someone like Harry Redknapp or Tim Sherwood, say you've got a Tuchel, for example, do you think that would unite our fan base? Because you know certain people quite well who've been active on social media over the weekend after being in hiding for a while, and there's obviously other people who peddle other agendas that are pro Wenger. I'll freely admit I've been pro Arsenal for many years, but equally I can see his failings. Some people refuse to accept those failings. Would that unite the fan base? Because surely we're never going to get a club that is properly behind the team as long as the fans are basically cutting each other off every week.
Firstly, I'll get Ancelotti if he hasn't.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
But
yeah.
Secondly, there's no guarantee. I mean, Jeff said it a million times, and I kind of agree with him that there's no guarantee that a new manager would change anything anyway. But a new manager would bring in excitement and that anticipation and a hope for a brighter future, and you might have that for quite a while. So. Yeah,
there'd be no more favourites who play.
There'll be a lot more positivity.
I
think there'll be a lot more positivity, and I think you'd hope that a lot of the fans, the majority of them, if not 99.9% of them, would give this manager a chance. Obviously, it's not none of this stuff that you suggest is going to happen, but I think there would be. I think there'll be excitement, to be honest, and emotions that we haven't shown for quite a while. So yeah, I think it would be a positive thing. I don't think people will go shit. We're fucked now and all that kind of stuff. I think the saner Arsenal fan would give this guy a chance. But it's all dreams, isn't it? Really. I don't expect Arsene Wenger to leave until 2019, or if that. He's not going to get sacked. He's not going to resign because he doesn't break his contracts. So he's here until 2019, if not longer.
How long's he been here? Is it 21 years? Is it now?
22, yeah.
21.
I've got a theory. So everyone bangs on about he gets paid 9-10 million a year. Well, that's over 20 years. I've got a theory that he's got a massive piggy bank. What he's doing is he's secretly saving that money every year, and eventually just going to buy the club. And then he's going to
forever.
And he's going to put a robot of himself in the dugout that struggles with the zip.
It's going to be a brain in a jar. That's what it's going to be.
It will, wouldn't it? Be like Krang from Turtles. But
it'll have a big old syrup on it, an Arsene Wenger type syrup, and there'll be a brain in a jar. Lovely.
Either that or he will have Kris Kiwomya in charge, one of the two, something crazy will happen like that. But no, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? And I do genuinely believe that whether you support the manager's views, philosophy, whatever your views are, I do genuinely think that his love for the club has almost superseded what's right for the club. Do you know what I mean by that? In that he's so invested in doing the right thing by the club and almost protecting us from the shit show that could be if he was to go, in his opinion, that is, that he's so wedded to it, and it's cost him a marriage, for God's sake. I think sometimes you can love something too much and force something that just isn't there.
Well, that goes for a lot of fans, though, surely. A lot of fans are wedded to Arsene Wenger. I mean, I've heard so many times, he's given so much to the club and we owe him this. And it's like, well, hold on, we all agree that he's been one of our
Messiah, apparently.
Yeah, you could easily argue he's been the best ever manager at this club. But at some point, things need to change, and maybe it's time for a move. But we're kind of going around in circles with all this. We say this every 3 weeks. Yeah, there's an echo there, but I'm getting a bit bored with saying the same old stuff, so I'm not going to say anything more now.
Well, this is how I feel about when we were winning. I thought, excellent, we're winning, good. We're going to be going back up the table. And when we lost, I went, excellent, social media is going to be fun. I love people losing their shit.
Isn't that a sad indictment of the modern game, isn't it? I turn mine off now. I just don't even tweet anymore. I just you can't get a sensible word in edgeways, can you? I had a question actually sent to me, which I'll ping across to you guys in a minute. But yeah, other than that, it's just full of people just rowing and ranting, and it's just so painful, isn't it?
Everybody wants to be right, don't they?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be right.
Bring back the letters page on CFAX. Those are the days.
Why, oh, why, oh, why?
So you had to write in with your thoughts. It's on page 324 or something. Yeah, I remember.
And the Footballers Football Show on Sky Sport. I once had a letter I wrote into them, and they slightly edited it, but they read it out. I've got it on VHS somewhere.
Because you can't say cunt on national TV, Danny. You know that.
Well, yeah. So they said sugar daddy. I said I didn't ask her. Actually, it'd be really good if I could find it.
I want to know what Gimli thinks of this. Come on, come on, Jim.
What about everything in general?
Yeah, about the world. Do you think Trump is going to start a nuclear war?
Oh, God.
Yes.
Of course he is.
I think we're all fucked.
Nice. I tell you what, boys, I'm not alone.
No. You got any questions tonight?
Yeah, in terms, Danny's got all the questions, but in terms of Arsenal, it's just I agree with everything that's been said tonight. There's not the same passion. There's not the same. If Arsenal lose, it fucks up my weekend. It's almost expected. You are right. We are going to go to Everton, and we are going to make them look like Barcelona. And Rooney probably will score a hat trick, but I expect it now. If I tweeted on Saturday evening, if Arsenal Football Club was a girlfriend, you would have told her to fucking pack her bags and fuck off long ago. It seems to me like we go through a bit of a crisis. We go through a bit with some good times. It seems like everything's getting back to normal. And then all of a sudden, we're back here again, fucking moaning on a Monday night instead of a Thursday. And, we moan the same things tonight as we moaned about 4 years ago. It's not changed. We might be promised change, but it never is it? We're just treated like mugs. And like Jay said, to say that fucking they wanted it more, like I said, it's insulting. It's insulting to everyone involved with the club, everyone who supports the club. it's just, as I said at the start, it's all a bit meh.
And
if Arsenal was your girlfriend, Arsenal Football Club was your girlfriend, the only reason we've kept her on is because she gave us a good blowjob on Cup Final.
Oh, no, it's gone there.
It was good memories at the time, but ultimately she's got a bit saggy now. And
yeah, but we're all hoping to get that same blowjob again, you see. That's why we keep her on, just in case.
And for our female and listeners of other sexual persuasions,
I know.
Yeah, but it's an analogy. It's not to do with sexism or anything.
I know.
Here's the question for you as well, Gim. When was the last time you hosted a podcast?
I was worried where this was going to go.
Yeah. When was the last time you hosted an orgy? No, when was the last time you hosted a podcast? And for the first, because we've been going, an hour and a bit, basically for an hour, all you talked about was the game we've actually just played. When was the last time you did a pod where you just focused on the game? Never happens, does it? Because we all end up doing this. Cup final, yeah, but I mean that's an isolated one off. But you know what I mean. We spend so much time talking about everything that's wrong and all the off the field stuff, and that we don't even talk about football much anymore, do we? Because it's just there's so much more going on around it.
We're experts in forensic analysis, Chris. Now, so,
is that what it is?
It
okay.
is, yeah,
do we get a Sky One show for that then? Because that's all we should do, shouldn't we?
If they'll give one to Corden, they'll fucking give one to anyone.
Remember, Gimli, when a few years ago I said the question for me is when we buy Sanchez and we buy Ozil, who are no doubt world-class players on a different level from every single player at the club, how long will it be before they bring the rest of the players up to their level or they sink to the level of everyone else? And unfortunately it seems they've sunk to the level of everyone else, because how can Mesut do what he does for Germany and then not do it for us? It's a little bit like you were saying with your girlfriend, it's all over when she's at home with you and she's sat on the sofa, she's picking her ass, farting and burping and has nothing to say, but then when she goes out of her mates and she's out of that nightclub, she's the centre of attention, and then you think, oh my God, why can't she be like that at home? And then you think it's time to go. Plus the little ray of sunshine in this is Kroenke has paid £80 million for Sanchez and Ozil. That £80 million is going to be gone with nothing back for it in January if they leave to sign for non-British.
Anyone think they're going to leave in January?
Yeah, I do. I
wouldn't be surprised.
Actually, I say that. I think it depends on what we can get done, but I do think that they'll have pre-contract agreements in place. I think it's clear that Sanchez is going to Man City. It's just a question of when and for how much.
And Man United.
Well, I think Ozil might actually end up abroad. I think there is something in this Turkish thing.
He can do that on January the 1st, then, can't he?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it all comes down to who we potentially think we can go after. I mean, I say the Lamar thing is still bubbling. We might end up doing like a Podolski-Shamak situation where we get everything agreed and say, right, you stay there for the rest of the season. We'll sign you in the summer. We'll get an agreement with a player like that. But it's like I said at the start of the pod, I genuinely think we could have Messi and Ronaldo up front, but within 6 weeks we'd coach them into being bad players. That's how it feels. That so many. John will tell you how good. I mean, I've always had reservations about Xhaka, temperament-wise and mobility-wise. I've always thought it was a bit much that we paid for him, but at Gladbach he was a leader. He was a driving force. He was a creator from deep. Even for Switzerland, he's come to us. He's gone backwards. There's so many players that we've brought in that have had top level performances for us and then have gone backwards, and it's just a worry. And there's just so many. I mean, you look at our squad. The question that the person asked me, I'll bring up in a tick. But you look at our squad, and there's a lot of players in that current squad that are getting towards 2 years left of their contracts. I mean, we could be in for a situation where we have to recycle 90% of this squad. That's a scary thought, because who are we going to buy? I mean. Arsenal will always be a draw, but are the players actually good enough? And what is Arsenal level these days?
But it's the thing, okay? Who's gonna buy the Theo Walcotts?
Well, there you go. Southampton, maybe.
I've got to be honest with you. I think Sanchez. If this is the way he's behaving, then his professionalism and that he'll give it his all was that to bollocks, isn't it?
I think he'll always give it his all, Jace, because he loves football. But that's.
Are you sure?
I genuinely think so, because he's so and I know it's a hindsight, we all love him when he performs, but he is so self-motivated. The game is all about his performance. Even for Chile as a team game and a national team, it is all about his performance. And some of the elite level athletes, Messi, Ronaldo, as good as they are for their teams, it is all about them as individuals. Sanchez is the same. But now I just think that I think he almost feels wronged by Arsenal for making him stay. Virgil van Dijk, it's the same thing happening at Southampton. You can see that player has dropped 10, 15%, well, 5, 10%. And at the elite level of sport, Dom will tell you, he told us when we were away, Jace, at that elite level of sport, what a free kick that is, by the way. You lose, if you lose 10, 15% at this very top level, you'll get found out. You get found out if you lose 10, 15% at League 2 level. But at the very elite level, and when there's 50, 60,000 people in front of you in a stadium watching your performance, and you are visibly losing the ball and not tracking back, as Mesut tends to do, and I know that's not his game, and I've fought his on behalf many occasions. It's not his game. That's not what he's in the team to do. But Jesus Christ, you still shake a leg. You still, even if you, as I say to my boys on a Sunday, which doesn't work, less about that, but even if you know that you cannot get to a ball that's 10 yards in front of you, you at least make the effort to show that that your commitment is that if that player trips or loses possession of the ball, you're there to pick it up. Because if you haven't tracked back, you're not going to pick the ball off them. And you just look at, and that's why I probably defend people like Coquelin a bit. Yeah, limited ability, but you wouldn't question his heart, would you?
No, absolutely. I'd far rather see Coquelin in the team than bloody Mesut at the moment.
That said, though, I can't justify did you see Tim Sherwood's quote of the year last week when he came out with this line of, he was on the Sky Sports debate show and he said, I would take somebody who works hard and is committed over natural ability.
That's like saying you'd rather have Welbeck in the team over Sanchez.
I'll find the exact quote, but that was a zinger from Big Tim and his tactical genius. I mean, wow. Yeah, how's that career working out for you, Tim?
Anyway. Questions then, Gim.
Yeah, let's do questions.
See if we can cheer ourselves out right. One from Stefan of the ABW Pro Clubs. That's their Twitter. Contact them if you're any good. He says, do you think it is wise to put Ozil on the bench? His thoughts during the game are not going to be about the match like most substitutes. They are going to be about the wider situation prompting his benching, if that's the case. I feel this is going to affect his focus when he comes on. What do you guys think, Raj?
Sorry, fruit and nut time when that was. But I don't give a fuck what Ozil's like. He can fuck off tomorrow if he likes. He does not give us anything anymore. He's just stroppy.
Biding his time.
He's biding his time like Sanchez. They can both go tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned. Very disappointing. But they've woken up and realised there's no future for them at Arsenal. We're not going to go and win major trophies, and they're trophy winners, so they've got to try and get that somewhere else. I don't know about Turkey, to be honest, but you never know.
One for you, Gimli, from Rob Wilkins.
Okay.
We have always been fragile, but to what degree has the manager's contract played a part? I think his team may be broken. What do we do?
So really, you're asking, has he lost the dressing room?
I'm not showing commitment and signing the contract until after we won the FA Cup.
I don't know. It's just a shit show, isn't it? You ain't never going to know if there are players there that like him, don't like him, won't play for him, enjoy playing for him. You can't tell what goes on behind closed doors. You judge Arsenal Football Club by what goes on the pitch. And something's broken within the club, quite clearly, whether it's the owner, the manager, the unmotivated players. I don't know. All you can say is, you support Arsenal Football Club. It's a lifelong marriage to them. I'll never turn my back on them. But at the moment, I think you've just got to kind of ride the wave and see where it takes us. And I'm under no illusion that it will get a lot worse before it gets better.
I hate giving him credit, but Sir Alex Ferguson, arguably the greatest manager of our lifetime generation, if not longer, when he knew that his ability to be tactically aware or, make certain decisions was coming to an end, what did he do? he refreshed the coaching setup, the assistant manager, every single season, because he knew that he could still motivate players. He could still coach the very best players in the world to a performance. He could still get the heart and the hunger out of them. But he knew that he needed something else, a tactical edge, somebody to get that fraction of an advantage on an opposition. And that's why he revamped all of the backroom stuff on such a regular basis. People criticised him for getting rid of certain club legends, but he brought in someone like Kirosh at the time, and look what they won under him. And I do wonder that, as good as Arsenal has been, you know, everybody comes to a cycle where you do the same job for 20 years. Eventually you get sick of it, and eventually you can't take it on any further. You can sustain. You can turn up for work with your tie slightly wonky and one shoelace undone, but you're not really putting it, or you're not really giving as much as you could, because you haven't got the tools around you, or you haven't put the tools around you in place, and you haven't got the attitude to really take it on a level. You know, you can only do what you're capable of doing because of all the situations around you. And I do wonder, from Arsenal's perspective, if he is given the right amount of tools that he needs to be given. And even when he's given them, does he actually take advantage of them? I'm not sure he does.
The thing is, as well, you know that there's real problems as well when you've got people like Thierry Henry and Ian Wright calling out problems at the club. They're people that, by rights, they love Arsenal Football Club. They live, they breathe it. They've been there, got the fucking T-shirt, and now they're criticising the current setup. I mean, those are the people that you would have thought would be defending the club and trying to save the club's reputation, but they're not. They're saying, like, you look at Martin Keown after that game the other day, he ripped into the players. I think there's all a little bit... Who's held accountable when there's a bad game? Do they go into the dressing room and they just get showered and changed and then fuck off on the bus home? Do they sit there and do they get a bollocking for a bad performance? Who's made accountable if a team fucks up? You don't know, do you?
It's like Szczesny was saying in that interview that he did today, that with when he's at Roma and Juventus, that pre-game they go through who's doing what and what the plan is, and then post-game, if it went wrong, they go and analyse it. And it's a known fact that Wenger doesn't do any of that stuff. Well, isn't it Mourinho that has an entire dossier, or is it Klopp that has an entire dossier for each player? This is what you need to be doing. This is what you've got to watch out for, and this is the plan. But I just think the best way to describe Arsenal at the moment, it's like the deck attendant on the Titanic. You know, at some point you're going to realise it's pointless.
But it's also that we've got this mentality of, you know, on our day, all of us on this pod tonight, and probably all the listeners to this would all agree that on our day we can rock up and smash somebody 4 or 5-0 and look like a well-beat. On our day we can beat Chelsea in an FA Cup final, look very convincing.
How did we do that?
However, on our day we can also rock up at Watford, come with a plan B, go one up, go, we're the Arsenal, we're better than you, and then something goes wrong and everything goes, you know, and then it all goes.
I think, Chris, you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that we are living off past glories to the point we do turn up to places like Vicarage Road and we think, oh, that's it. We'll have to play a little bit of football, but this should be 2 or 3-0 happy days. On we go. They turn up there. Watford see a performance from a team that doesn't respect them, and they go, do you know what? We can fucking beat these because we've got to
earn the right to play, haven't you?
Exactly. You've got bags. We've got bags more heart than what you have. Like Troy Deeney. And I think it was particularly interesting hearing from Troy Deeney. And I called him a cheating cunt on the day. And the remarks about Bellerin's hair pissed me off. But that's probably more pissed off that I was with the actual team other than his comments. But I can only say that I have respect for the guy to come on BT Sport afterwards. And I think we should get it from more players where they have to sit down and give a proper interview about the game. He said we didn't have bollocks. We don't have bollocks. He can see that. He doesn't. He's fuck all to do with Arsenal. He plays for a different team, but he can see that. You know, how many more players from teams around the country, when Arsenal rock up and go, do you know what? You get in their faces, they won't like that. They're arrogant. They're a fucking arrogant, muggy lot of pricks.
And how do you
think that they're... Sorry, but they think they're going to rock up, play a bit of football and win easily. And it's not like that. We're living off past glories. And quite honestly, they're gone. Those days are gone. We have to accept that we are no better than top mid-table. That's it. That's where we are.
And how many...
We are... Sorry?
Where did the teams learn that, to quote unquote, we don't like it up us? Stoke away. And how long ago was it that we had this voodoo hoodoo with Stoke? Tony Pulis was managing Stoke then. How many years ago was that? And yet still, clubs still realise, all these years on, that we still don't like it roughed up. We still don't like it. And there's no excuse anymore for the playing personnel, because we've got a Kolasinac, we've got a Xhaka, we've got a Koscielny who can mix it with people. And yet we still get bullied.
But all about us, we weren't really bullied on Saturday.
Well, no, but
they did us tactically.
Yeah, they did. Marco Silva out-tacticed us. Yeah,
they put. We had 70% possession first half, whatever it was, 60% possession first half. We didn't create enough because Welbeck's just come back from injury. We've played him and Iwobi. They weren't good enough. Lacazette was poor on the day. The midfield was god awful. Our wing backs didn't create enough either. They didn't tuck in when was needed. They didn't create the space. We didn't put men into pockets of space to take advantage of it. We weren't bullied on Saturday. I disagree with the cojones thing. Absolutely. Troy Deeney didn't say that after we beat them 4-1 last season. Okay, but the truth of the matter is, we got done tactically, and we got done for desire, and that's sad.
Right, Jace, while I got you, question for you from Dan, same surname as you, so I don't know whether it's say Davis or Davies, because people say both. He says, do you believe Ramsey, Sanchez were injured or more mollycoddling that illustrates the seemingly general comfort of Arsenal players?
We spoke of this for the pod. I have no idea what's going on there. I mean,
mollycoddled, definitely mollycoddled.
But you look at Sanchez, you look at the amount of travelling he's got to do. I see that.
Jesus played for Brazil. He was playing on Saturday, day before us.
Brazil got through. Look, I don't know. Okay, you can call it mollycoddled. I do not see why they couldn't play on Saturday. I see with Ramsey, he has to manage Ramsey nowadays because of obviously the injury issues in the past. That is one thing we have to accept as certain players. We have to manage them. And whether it's a Burgess decision or whether it is mollycoddling, I do not know. But, come on, it was Monday. It's now to Saturday. One game a week's not a big ask. I know Ramsey played on the Friday as well, but it's. This question says. I do think there could be mollycoddling involved, but surely we should have had a team out good enough to beat Watford.
We always have a team out that's good enough to beat teams. That's not the problem. It's the team themselves. Let's not repeat ourselves, but
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so depressing.
Watford beat us last season, and they knocked us out of the FA Cup semi-final, both with different managers and different players. So it's probably us taking them for granted. I didn't realise, but Andres Yonkers, who was our academy manager, he took Freddie Ljungberg and went to Wolfsburg.
Sacked.
He got sacked a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What a waste of time that was. Freddie's still there though.
Dreadful, to be fair. Yeah.
Right. While I got you, Chris, this is from Sid Hazarakia. I don't know if he's Japanese. Hope so. He says, this has probably been asked a billion times. Anyway, we, the Arsenal supporters, can force Kroenke out. And I was just reading that Andy Kelly has tweeted that today 2 Arsenal shares went for £24,500 each. Then a few hours later, another one went for 25 grand. Wow.
He's buying them all up, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I'm sorry to disappoint our listener, but I don't think so. I mean, was it Mike Ashley said today that he wants rid of Newcastle? So that
how much does he want for that, though?
I didn't see what the figures were. But
he bought them for 135 million in 2007.
Probably going to want double that, I suppose, isn't he, for a Premier League side? But
he'll sell it easily. He
will, because that place, you get the right manager or the right money in there, and that's a gold mine. That's club
40,000 mental, passionate fans. They have got everything that you need: the stadium, the support, the location where there's only two or three other teams around there. They can be a giant. If some Chinese club comes in there, like have with Inter Milan and AC Milan, and they do it properly, they will be top 3, no problem.
I said earlier on it would be a Chinese company that would go in there. And then you watch that club if they do that.
Oh yeah, get old Kevin Keegan back in, and but yeah, I mean they are
get Shearer out of retirement.
Shearer.
Did you see what Shearer tweeted today?
No.
He did. It was someone from The Simpsons or something doing a happy dance, so I heard it on the radio. But I was listening to. If people can go and listen to the AC Jimbo show, the Totally Football show. They had an Irish bloke on there who has a doctorate in football finances.
Oh, he's very good.
And they said to him, this is last week, what club would some investor come in? Because he's helped investors come in, I think, when they took over Wolves and Southampton and a few others. And they said, what is the biggest club that someone could come in and buy and make into a giant of English football? And he said Newcastle. Then a week later, it looks like they're up.
I think that's the only thing with Kroenke is I mean, again, Fifey and people better qualified, Steve, better qualified than I to talk finances, but he's clearly a gentleman who's, he's not doing anything wrong. Arsenal fans have this hatred for him because he clearly doesn't really care, but he's a very, very shrewd businessman. It sounds awful to say, but he doesn't look particularly well, so maybe that's the quickest way for him out. But then you've got his son in charge, and I think that's the only potential saving grace, is that his son, is it Josh, might look at this as an opportunity to tweak the catalogue of Kroenke, if you will. That sounds like a really bad horror film, but maybe he might look at it and go, actually, maybe we could build on these sports franchises as well as the ranches. But at the risk of sounding slightly sort of, it's not racist, but not homophobic. What's that word when you're anti?
Xenophobic.
That's the word, xenophobic. I don't wish to sound xenophobic, but I would question how much, an American billionaire who clearly doesn't really know very much, if anything, about our game and even the area, the local people, the history of the club. I just don't think he really knows all about it, and it's the equivalent of you saying to me, Chris, here's a rugby club. We're going to give you everything you could ever want. There's the stadium, there's the fan base, there's the previous history. Build on this rugby club, mate, then great. If I don't like rugby, which I don't, I'm never going to be fully invested in it. And I just don't think that until he realizes what he could potentially have, or until somebody tells him, look, if you actually put this money in here, or if you do this here, or if you do the right thing with the club, with the supporters rather, you might actually get more from it, then I don't think it's going to change. Man United have the same thing with the Glazers. So
Chris, he's not going to gamble £200 million of his money.
No, and why would he?
On a game he doesn't understand.
Nope.
He just looks at the balance sheet, and if he's happy with the balance sheet, then that's all he wants. That's all he's interested in.
Arsenal is never not.
There isn't a fan out there who has the power to get rid of him. You could have 60,000 fans walking down Avenel Road on match day, and he would not give a shit because he doesn't really care about the fans. And he's a businessman, as you're quite right. All he looks at is the bottom end, and as long as there's money pouring in, he won't do anything about it, and no one has the power to get rid of him. Yeah. He's not going to say, "Oh, all the fans are great." He doesn't come to games. See, he's not going to see that anyway. No. He's got to come to the AGM in a couple of weeks' time, and I think he went to the cup final, and he might come once more. So at best, he's over here 2 or 3 times a year. So he won't care. You can all go marching down. We've done the marches. Nothing happens.
No, that was always my argument. I just didn't see what it would achieve.
Yeah, I now put my hand up and say, fan power is ineffective.
Yeah, and there's nobody out there.
We gave it a good go though. Jesus Christ, we gave it a go.
We did give it a good
I'm
go.
just looking at Newcastle thing. According to the Guardian, he wants about £380,000. And
million, you mean?
Dan, I don't give a fuck about Newcastle United.
Well, I do. They're my new team. They had 52,000 against Liverpool. There you go.
They always have 52,000.
You could buy them, Raj. You're loaded.
Nah, not really.
No money left over for chocolate.
Can we just buy?
I think they're a club. I think the right buyer, if that buyer turns out to be a football fan, and then you could see a big change in their fortunes. I'm not saying it definitely happened, but you could see that. But so long as the buyer is not a Kroenke.
Just don't buy Faustino Esprilia when it's all going right. Right, next question. We've got one up from Billy who says, do you agree about Troy Deeney being soft? Remember, people, I put all your questions down and then we talk about stuff in the pod. So sometimes stuff's repeated, but I think we all do agree that Arsenal are soft. And then this one is for you, Raj. Raj. Then Gimli after. From James Cooper says, following Troy Deeney's comments, what can be done short term to improve the size and presence of Arsenal's cojones?
Nothing.
Good.
It's
Right.
down to the players to manage our expectations.
Here is one from. Oh, have you finished?
Yep.
I thought maybe you were breathing.
No. That's
Finished breathing. That'd be a bit. Yeah.
Right, this is one for everybody from Mr. DJ. Which would you pick? I've had to slightly change these things. You said you could pick one of a new manager or a new owner. We'll start with Gimli.
Owner.
Raj.
Manager.
Jace.
Oh, fuck.
It's 50-50.
I'd shoot Kroenke.
He would
Actually,
shag.
I'd sell Wenger, and I'd take over the ownership and the managerial side of the club.
But then would you be able to move your microphone away from your fucking headphones so we don't get feedback? Stop it. It's driving people nuts. They're too close together. And Kris, finally, what would you say?
Just to be different, I'd have a new owner, which would almost certainly end then in a new manager. I think you have to change everything. If you're going to change one, you have to change both.
I would let Sanchez buy the club as player, owner, manager. I would go full carpenter. I'd own the club. I'd play for the club, and I'd manage the club.
Sorry, I forgot as well. I'd get rid of that twat Gazidis. I'd shoot fucking Francis Coquelin.
I'd make Coquelin manager just to see Jason's reaction.
Oh, dear.
And I'd have him doing fucking laps of the pitch, just 2-footing people out of the stadium. Like, that'd be brilliant.
Coco van. Right, being a fucking van.
Here's another one for everybody from Toto. Says, what's the best meal to eat after a loss? Now, Raj has always got food on his mind. So, Raj?
Large doner kebab with chips with chili and onion. That is exactly what I have.
Dirty onion eating swine. Kris, what do you have? Let me guess. It's going to be Sainsbury's striped stuff from the off bin.
Well, firstly, Toto, good song, that Africa. I'm partial to a curry myself. It'd have to be a korma because I'm not really very adventurous in my curries, but I do like a
curry. That's not a curry, Kris.
Well,
it's cream and chicken.
You just call a korma a curry.
Curry, Kris.
All right, well, a pansy curry.
Pansy curry. Oh,
what would you know about curries, Patel?
I do.
Oh, racist. Here we go.
There we go.
No, there's the racism coming out there, Dan. I'm going to make a
Either
I'm writing to Ofcom tonight.
that or a Chinese. I mean,
go the Chinese now. Is it? What have they done wrong?
anything takeaway. You don't want to be cooking, slaving over hot stove after last year. Something ordered in.
Gimli,
curries are for wins.
Savers.
Kebabs are for losses. You don't spend a lot of money on a loss.
Fair point.
£5.70.
Gimli, what'd you have?
Cake.
Just cake.
That's a fucking cake.
Any particular type of cake, chocolate cake, carrot cake, any kind of.
No, carrot cake isn't fucking cake. That's disgusting. That's fucking error.
It comes fucking Mary Berry with her analysis of cake.
Jace, what did you have?
It's common with Mary Berry is saggy tits.
Hey, how dare you? Jace, what would you have? And would it be lamb and leek based?
It would be beer.
Pot.
It would be lots and lots and lots of beer.
Excellent. And mine would be, because sometimes when I'm feeling a bit naughty, I think the best crisps to eat are the really cheap cheese and onion ones. They're slightly out of date. They've been left open for a day just to try and teach me a lesson to maybe change and support a different club, or my own way in gluten-free pizza.
You heathen.
Nice. Yes, I do like a curry though, but it has to be cooked by someone who doesn't think that you can use 3-day-old chicken that's been on the floor and think that's okay. No, I want it done properly. We got one here from Gav. Who wants to ask this? Who wants to answer this?
Shoot more.
Is it something about the manager being a cunt or something?
As you were the first to pipe up, Gimli, he says, should we sub check off before every penalty?
And you'd be
definitely.
something negative.
Yeah, definitely.
God bless him.
With it.
And someone replied, "No, just make him put a blindfold on and face the wrong way, and he's still got more chance of saving it."
Danny, I believe someone else has added themselves to the podcast. I think FK might be here.
Hello, FK.
Have we got a question for FK?
Oh, we have. It's from Mike in Gooners in the USA podcast, which I was on this week. He says, to which Arsenal player from this weekend would you send a big bag of dicks, which is actually a website where they will send you a little box with a bow on it, and it's got edible dicks in it. And he says, Ozil, El Neni, or Bellerin. What do you think, FK?
FK. FK.
Hi, Danny.
Yeah,
Oh,
hi,
here
Danny.
he is.
Yeah, I'd probably give it to Ozil, but I've got a joke for you, Danny, if you're ready
Oh,
for it.
go on then.
How many
You're a cheeky boy.
How many Arsene Wengers does it take to change a light bulb?
2,000 to contemplate it for a week, and then none.
The answer is none. He's too busy.
Hashtag carpenter out.
Dear, oh dear, FK. It's unbelievable.
Oh,
He's
Gimli,
gone again.
Cut him off.
It's gone. I've had to cut him
Oh.
off.
How does he
Fucking
get
hell.
on week after week with this horrible
Oh,
stuff?
He just
not
went
having it.
full. He just went full fucking OAP disco on us, didn't he?
He's got full funky Kris. Oh, that's a blast from the past.
But
Right.
by the way, Gooners in USA are scraping the barrel a bit. If you've been on again, haven't they?
3
Jesus.
times is a charm.
Fucking hell.
It's actually a very good podcast. People go and have a listen to
I've
it.
been invited onto that one.
Have you? Oh, they're
They haven't
brilliant.
offered me any chocolate yet, so we'll have to think about
Mike
that.
will eat it all. Put
Deal
him in
breaker.
the bowl of chocolate as he's doing.
Yeah, you
He's-
get baconators.
He's such a drunkard that he's in a hotel in Chicago doing something, and he ordered pizza, ate the pizza, and he was so drunk he didn't realise until the next day that the pizza he ordered was pepperoni, but the pizza they delivered was spinach.
Oh,
What a
What's the
fucking
matter with
animal. Jace, one for you from James Howson, who originally sent one in asking, it was one of Gimli's, one bullet, who would you shoot? But we're not going to sink that low.
Why?
He says, because we've had enough of that nonsense. He says, your thoughts on Fabregas admitting it was he who threw the pizza slice at Fergie, which he did on that James Fact Useless Called and Soon to Be Unemployed show. I don't even know what the fuck it's called. On Sky.
To be honest with you, Big Jimmy, because that's his handle on Twitter, I couldn't give a fuck about Fabregas.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff you don't give a fuck about, isn't it?
It's not a little fucking snake twat.
Just out of curiosity, has anyone had it on FIFA where the goalkeeper goes to kick the ball, and he kicks it, and it gives it so much fucking backspin, it bounces behind him and goes in the net?
yeah.
Playing
Oh,
FIFA.
what the fuck are we talking about? Smiley faces, FIFA, fucking Newcastle United.
You know, Jace, you'd be that guy, wouldn't you, that
Shit.
somebody buys a PS4 for and you try and plug it into the microwave on Christmas Day, and you?
No. I'd give it to my nephew. Because he knows what to fucking do with it. I don't.
Exactly
Are
my
you playing
point.
FIFA now?
Yeah.
Who? Oh,
You little shit.
did you get anyone good this year, Gim? Because you got bloody fucking Hazard last year, didn't you? Cheeky
Oh,
Yeah,
git.
no, I packed. Do you know funniest thing? First pack I opened, Mesut Ozil.
Oh, you.
Straight up,
Cheater.
first pack I opened was a Mesut Ozil. Sold him.
Do you know the
Sold
first
it.
player I bought?
Go on.
Go on, Francis. Move on.
Mine was Wilshere. And he's
Oh.
How much
best
did
players.
Francis cost you? 2 pence.
He had to pay me to sign him.
350 coins.
I'll tell
I've
you what,
got
Gimli,
250,000.
You did better than the Arsenal selling also.
Yeah,
Tell you
I
what,
did.
he's brilliant. I turn my PlayStation on, it just goes flying into challenges unannounced. It's great fun. Bless it.
I do like the way that you can now get free cards and stuff for your daily and weekly challenges. I mean, that's brilliant. Well done, EA. You've actually made a game better.
About fucking time, wasn't it? Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
A question for you, Kris, from ANAS, then a space, and then a DH. I think maybe they fell asleep on the keyboard as they were putting their name in. It says, you blame the manager if his player. Do you blame the manager if his players can't even make a 5-yard pass?
No, you don't, and that's where the argument of, that's where the argument of everything against Arsenal has to take a bit of have to take a bit of a closer look at what you're saying there, because he doesn't, as you said earlier on in the pods, he doesn't send his players out there to lose. That would be absolutely stupid. I'm sure he backs a player of 35 million quid's worth in Xhaka to track a runner, and I'm sure he backs him as a level player to not shoot straight at the goalkeeper. He doesn't plan for that. and I don't think that's something that can be coached out. It's that paralysed by fear situation, isn't it, or lack of focus, whatever that may be. But no, I think the players have to take a certain amount of a hit on that. But it's the age-old question is, why is it always our bloody players? That's probably the bigger question. So no, right. I think you can't have it all on the manager every time now.
We've got about 10 minutes to go, and so I'm going to quickly go through some questions, and I want a yes or no.
Can I ask you one before you do? Because you haven't answered one. Because we had a very good question from somebody on Twitter from our friend here. Well, Hoppy Hopkins, friend of the show.
Oh, I know him.
At Hoppy first. So he sent me this DM. He said, I've been thinking today, do you think it's time Wenger came out and explained his plans? He has a 2-year contract, and I get that. But surely players whose contracts, pick, I'll read them for you in a minute, who are up at the end of next season don't know what's happening. So I'm guessing they're not going to commit fully. Surely that uncertainty isn't helping the current season either. And he's listed Aaron Ramsey, Olivier Giroud, Theo Walcott, Danny Welbeck, Nacho Monreal, Petr Cech, and David Ospina, all due for contract. Oh, and Chuba Akpom, if that matters, and Matthew Debuchy.
Tonight.
So they're all out of contracts at the end of next season. So what do you think, Danny? Do you think that uncertainty bleeds into, we talked about Mesut and Alexis, but there's basically half of the squad there that are all out of contract next summer as well. Do you think they're going to be sitting there going, hang on a minute, I'm not going to sign anything until I know what Arsene Wenger's doing? Again.
God, it's such a hard thing to even have a guess at. Because going by previous history, no one's got any fucking idea. And the players that we can't sell, that are no good, we keep until their contracts expire, and then they go on a free, go elsewhere, and then they do wonders. Or we loan them out.
But then we have signed Callum Chambers to a new 2-year deal, haven't we? So is that protecting his value, or is he actually going to get game time? Because that's the other argument. Maybe we are learning.
See, did you see that on social media? And that's one thing that really pissed me off. The amount of people that was slagging off Callum Chambers because he got offered a new 2-year deal. Fuck me, right? We slag off the people that don't want to be here, and we slag off the players that do. What the actual fuck?
It's beyond stupid, isn't it?
Yep, it's madness.
So the answer is I have no idea what's going to happen. I think Ozil and Sanchez are going to leave, whether it's in January for 10 million each, or whether it's in the 31st of June on a free. I don't know. It'd be nice to have them here for the rest of the season, just because they infuriate everybody. And the rest of the players, well, I think a couple of them are going to get new deals. I think Ospina will probably want to leave because he'll get a good signing on fee. But it's annoying. Nobody knows what the club is bloody doing, and I don't think that's all down to Wenger. I think a lot of that is down from the owner, who just goes, "What? Jace is unmuted again," who just does whatever he wants.
It's a good question though, isn't it, from Hoppy? Because he's got a point, hasn't he? You know, how can a player buy into a manager's philosophy when Arsene left it to the very last minute anyway? Again. But then also now, these questions that were asked last summer are going to be asked all over again next summer, aren't they? Unless, of course, we get to the end of the season and we finish 18th and end up going down, and because that's the only thing that would make, I think, Kroenke change the manager. Without that decision, I think that's the only reason he would change the manager, is if we finish so catastrophically down the table. I'm looking at the league table now. We've got 13 points. We are 2 points outside the top 4, which, let's be realistic, is our aim this season. Nothing more, nothing less. Maybe a cup run again in whatever cup it is. But, we're not near a title, are we? Let's be honest.
See, the thing that worries me is, and many people might joke about the Europa League, but that is such an important thing for us. See, that's our route into the Champions League.
Just going to say, more likely,
if that's our only route into the Champions League, because let's be honest, top 4 is going to be fucking tough. It's going to be real tough. Yep. So you put all your eggs in one basket for the Europa League, like Man United do. If we don't get Champions League football next season, with Mesut gone, with Sanchez gone, possibly Ramsey gone, who is going to want to sign for a club that's not in the Champions League, where all of their best players is just fucked off? I mean, what does it say about us as a club if we can't keep the likes of Ozil and Sanchez? How do you strengthen? How do you replace that caliber of player when you're not getting any kind of return on them leaving? For me, like I said earlier in the podcast, I see such dark days ahead. I think people will look back at this time and they'll think, God, you know what? If I could go back to that time, I probably would, because it's going to get much, much worse from here. And I'm sorry if that sounds miserable or down. And I put something on Twitter. Would you
Sometimes
rather
the
me
truth
be up?
hurts.
Yeah, but would you rather me be upbeat tonight or tell it like it is? And I think 80% said tell it like it is. And unfortunately for me, how I view this football club at this time, that's how I see it. And I don't see many good days ahead.
And also, like people, I think some of our fans are a little bit blasé about Europa League, thinking that we're just going to wander through to the final and pick up the trophy if we fancy it. There's some decent size in the group stages now, but you wait till February when those Champions League, look at some of those groups and look at some of the teams in danger of not qualifying. Bayern Munich are up against it at the moment. Wouldn't it be ironic if they dropped into the bloody Europa League and we drew them again? But there's some good sides that will drop out of that Champions League, and I'm not talking, Bayern Munich's probably the exception. I'm not talking like heavyweight clubs, but they're clubs like your Sevillas. I haven't got the tables in front of me, but your sort of dark horse teams, your Shakhtar Donetsk, teams like that can go on a run.
If we can get turned over by teams like Stoke away,
exactly,
Watford away, you look at Sevilla and you think, would Watford beat Sevilla? I'd be struggling to say they would, but they turned us over the weekend.
If Spurs get a result against Real Madrid in the home game, let's be honest, they're going to get absolutely battered tomorrow, and I can't wait. But if they get a decent result at home to Real at Wembley, or they can beat Dortmund at home, there's a real opportunity that Dortmund will end up in the Europa League. Do you think they're going to take it? They're not going to take it seriously? They bloody will. But so again, that comes down to our fans. I hate to be sort of a bit arrogant and sniffy here, but a lot of our fans who may not necessarily watch a lot of football around Europe don't realise there's more to the world than the Premier League. There's a lot of very good young teams building in the European game that might not be Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, but there are some fucking good sides that will go on good runs, and they'll look at that opportunity like a Leicester and think, bloody hell, we could be a Champions League club next season if we get the right results in the Europa League. And if we rock up with half a squad in February, having got through to the latter stages, look at Tottenham. As much as we all laugh at them, and rightly so, they had a squad capable of winning the Europa League the last 3 seasons easily, and they didn't get anywhere near a final. Liverpool the same. So, you can't take it for granted. And United had a few tricky ties, didn't they, along the way to get into a final last year. So we have to be on our mettle. And I don't know about you boys, but if we're 6th or 7th come the turn of the year, I'd rather put all the eggs in one basket and try and win a competition that's winnable.
But do you not think that there's the constant here is that it's the same kind of arrogance from the fans that you're getting from the players, that they think you're just going to rock up and easily win a game? The Premier League is so much more competitive. There's so much more money in it. I mean, look how much teams like West Brom spent in the summer.
But then
it's a different team they're going out for the Europa League.
I've
actually quite enjoyed the games. I've been lucky enough to go to one, watch the other one on TV. I'll go to the Red Star Belgrade one. And two things, as Kris said, the team's different, and they're a lot more up for it because they're getting game time. And secondly, the crowd's different because the ticket prices are lower. So those, I know you don't like me saying it, but the old school lads, they come in now, and there's a good atmosphere. There's an amazing atmosphere at Cologne, and I'm sure it will be for the next home game as well. So it's 2 different things. I think people are more ready to give up on the Premier League, but they're quite enjoying the Europa League experience.
And like Raj said, it's an opportunity for those players who are not getting game time, particularly your Walcotts, your Giroux.
Yeah.
As much as anything, it's an opportunity to put themselves in the shop window as well, Especially if you're a Theo Walcott, you think, well, I've got no career here. At least if I score goals in this Europa League run, and it only takes, and I don't want to jinx this, it only takes Lacazette to turn an ankle, or Koscielny's Achilles to be banjacked. We saw it with Mustafi. It only takes 1 or 2 of those big players to get injured. We need these players who are playing these Europa games to be at it, ready, motivated. And the only way they're going to do that is by playing these Europa games.
Right, are we going to? I said 10 minutes ago, and hurry up, and you fucking droned on.
Go on,
right,
finish
quick
it off.
yes, no from everybody. Jonas 82, drop Xhaka and give Wilshere a run, and he says despite him not being 100% match fit. Jason says no, don't you, Jace?
What?
Hello, who wake you?
Yeah, sorry, say it again.
Do we drop Xhaka for Wilshere, even though he's not 100% match fit? Yes or no? Don't go on. We're running out of time. Huh?
No.
Kris?
As answering that question.
Question one, I haven't asked
well,
it.
No, I wouldn't put Jack in. I know Jason's going to hate me, but I think Coquelin is more likely to get back in ahead of Jack at the moment.
Don't
especially...
wind the Welshman up.
No. Think about it.
I was going to say the same thing.
Jack Wilshere is not a holding midfielder. As much as we might think he can play there, that's not where Arsene Wenger sees him. So why would he play him at holding midfield when he's got Coquelin just come back to fitness? And he obviously, whatever anyone thinks, he obviously trusts Coquelin. So, no, I think Jack is more likely. Coquelin will probably play Thursday, which is why he's played a half tonight. And then I think he'll probably be in contention for the classic 2-0 defeat to Everton on Sunday.
Listeners at home, if you could let us know on a postcard whether that's a yes or a no from Kris, because I've got no fucking idea.
Jack's more likely to come in for Iwobi
yes
Iwobi or Ozil's position than he is
Still
for...
not yes or no?
No.
Fuck me. Raj.
No, I think Coquelin will go in. I think he's the best holding midfielder on the British Isles at the moment. So
I say fuck yes.
You wind-up merchant, fuck.
Checks in the post, Raj. Thank you.
I say yes. Fuck yes, Gimli. What do you say?
I say yes. There only can be one man, and that man is the cock.
Reece Nelson.
The cock?
I live 10 minutes away from Merthyr. I'm going to burn you out your fucking house.
Do you know what I would love? The one week Coquelin gets a winning goal. Can you please get Jason on, please?
And I'll get Jace to talk about it, the match. I will get him to be the one that analyses the match.
Boys, I would love Francis Coquelin to score a winning goal in the game and double his tally of goals in his career. Fuck's sakes.
Right, next question. Charlie the Greek says, why are the refs fucking haters? Well, they just do. Charlie M. Hatfield says, what realistically can happen between now and the end of the season? Oh, Jesus, what was that? I think I've got an alien inside me. Between now and the end of next season, that can change anything at our club. Does anybody have a short and concise, interesting answer?
I'm going to say this now, okay? We will win the Europa League and we will finish top 4. And I genuinely believe we will.
I'm with him.
And nothing will change. And that's
Raj,
the problem.
Fucking sort these silly bitches out, will you? For fuck's sake!
I don't even know what the question was, to be honest.
We said, Charles says, what realistically can happen between now and the end of next season that can change anything at the club? And
next season?
And Kris and Jace genuinely think we're going to win the Europa League and finish top 4.
I was going to caveat my answer.
No caviar.
Hang on, did you say
I think
season?
at best, realistically, we're a top 6 club. That's it.
That's pushing it.
I'm telling you, boys, okay, right? You remember this? We will finish top 4, we'll win the Europa League, and we'll paper over the cracks somehow. Because that's what we always manage to do.
We probably will get into top 4 because the other teams around us are just as shit as us.
We've got more.
Liverpool
more paper than bloody Wicks at the moment.
Chelsea don't know what they're doing. Tottenham will fall away, hopefully. So City United will come top 2, and then there's 4 clubs for the last 2.
Yeah, Chelsea aren't looking great.
I was just going to say Chelsea, yeah.
You know, Tottenham's home form is dog shit.
Yeah.
You know, Liverpool, fucking hell, God knows what's going on there. You know, we're not the only ones in trouble.
No. Chelsea.
That's the big thing.
Chelsea will lose. Chelsea will lose contact at the end of the season. There's a massive rebuild for them. Spurs are going to lose half their players.
Before the end of the season. He's not a happy man, is he?
No, I think he'll stick out the season because where else is he going to go, realistically? I think Chelsea will lose him. I think Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool are in any better shape than we are. Spurs still don't convince me. They never will because it's Spurs. I do think Man City and Man United are unfortunately quite far ahead of where we are at the moment. I'm still not convinced either of them are elite clubs, but they're clearly the best of what's in our league. But I agree with Jace. I think I'm not sure we'll win the Europa League.
Man City have scored more goals than any other team in Premier League.
Sorry, I did tell them to hurry up.
They fucking should for spending 400 million quid on fullback. The bloody.
Look what Ancelotti inherited at Bayern. Still failed.
Yeah, to a degree. Bayern's a bit of a different club there.
Oh, fuck off. You can't keep on saying that. He's a good manager, and he's got them playing great football.
Oh, he's a very good manager.
He's had to swallow it. Yes.
No, I said he's a very.
Weekend, Raj.
I said he's a very good manager, not great. Good.
He's a great
manager. You knew this was going to happen, Danny, when you booked them.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Love's young dream.
I'll shut up now.
Hey, it's not the Seymour Arms, is it?
Oh, fuck off. When did you poke the bear?
Okay, so okay, one last question for you, Gimli, from Josh Robinson 87. How important is it that we get a new right back in January? Cedric from Southampton is a good option.
No, he's not a good option. He's dreadful.
Oh, there you go, Gimli. You don't have to answer that. Chris has answered
there you go. I won't bother answering.
Yeah, excellent. Right, move on to predictions, Gimli.
Cross for
Lovely
toffee.
stuff. Hold on, let me get the screen up. This is
Thursday, 6 p.m. Red Star Belgrade, and at least Chris won't have to answer any of these. So, dear listener, it will save you an hour.
Sorry, Gim.
Right, Chris.
Yeah,
he doesn't do them.
No, I'll do them. I'll do them while I'm on. I don't take part in this false fix thing that you run every year, Danny.
What do you mean false fix? What? Because Fatty won it last year.
Yeah, fix. Total fix.
Dom won it.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, Dom's not fat. I thought you won it.
No, I fucked it up because I'm shit.
I'm currently in a dirty protest. Red Star Belgrade. We're away, aren't we? Away from home?
Yeah.
3-1. No, 2-1. I don't know who the bloody hell's going to play. 2-1 Giroud. There you go.
Okie dokie. Danny?
Say Keith. All right, man. I'm going to go 2-2 Le Giroud.
Lovely. Raj?
2-0 Giroud.
Raj, stop it. You said you were going to stop this bullshit and go with your heart, not your head.
Yeah, I think we're going to beat Belgrade because we've got a different team, and we will lose to Everton 3-1 with Rooney scoring the first goal. There you go. That's both my predictions in one bit go.
I wasn't listening. What was his second prediction for Everton?
3-1 to Everton, Rooney scoring the first goal.
Oh, very close to mine. My one was 3-2 to Everton with Rooney scoring the first goal.
You won't score 2 goals away. Are you mad?
Sorry.
Okie dokie, Jace?
3-0 to the Arsenal against Red Star. Theo Walcott opening the scoring.
You're saying these too quickly. Jason, what is it?
3-0 to the Arsenal.
Oh, right, go on, yeah.
Theo to score first.
Oh, no, you are taking the piss. And
wasn't so hard, was it?
One?
Everton, 2-0 to the Arsenal.
Oh, fuck's sake. Ozil, go on, take the piss.
Lacazette.
Did you want an Everton one from me, by the way?
Not really.
No.
Gimli, your Red Star Belgrade one?
3-1 Giroud.
Everton for me, Daddy. 1-0 Coquelin.
Don't put my name into it.
Just for shits and giggles. If that comes in, I want an apology from everybody on this podcast.
I've predicted Coquelin to score first before. Danny can testify to that.
Yeah, true.
The reason Danny was having a go at me just a minute ago was because on Saturday I wanted to do 2-1 Watford.
Don't tell them about what we speak about in our private group.
And I decided to go for 1-1 because I didn't want to be seen as negative.
And I went 2-2 for the same reason.
Fucking could have got Everton. 5 points for that.
Jeez. Everton, yes. Gimli?
I'm gonna be positive. I'm gonna go 2-0 because I want to be positive. Lacazette.
Okay, and the listener at home and on the bus.
Lacazette won't be playing.
Oh, that's some interesting ones. Thank you very much for that, dear listener.
8 points.
Shout outs.
Yeah.
So, okay, shout outs. We'll start off with you, Raj.
Last person to follow me is Toto at Rambo's left foot.
He's the one who asked the question that Chris started to sing to.
I didn't know that.
That's good.
He's an AFC PSV Bordeaux fan, lover of TV shows and world-class memes.
Feeder League.
Sounds like
England and Orangi, whatever that means.
Orangi is Holland, yeah. He sounds like a man I might have to follow. Sounds like a good one.
But the poor sod's only got 2 followers, so go and follow him, please. Rambo's at Rambo's left foot.
That's him.
I'm going to go and make sure the pod are following him. He supports Bordeaux and PSV, so that's double Feeder League. He's outdone you, Chris.
Oh, well, you know. That's best league in the world.
Can't win them all. Hey, Chris, as you've learned from the Pirates.
Oh, here we go. Only matter of time, isn't
it? Chase?
Oh, hello.
Sorry for keeping you up, Jace.
Never gets old.
Well, you know, I don't know how to.
There you go, just follow me, please.
What? Come back to you. Okay, Chris.
I don't know what the fuck. Shout outs. Yes. Yeah, personal one for me. I managed to somehow drag my broken body around a 10K run for the very first time in my life last week.
Didn't you do it for the Sharks?
I did, and that's who I want to give my shout out to. Funny enough,
Mighty
Gim.
bastards.
Oh, shut up, you.
I just followed Toto with the Highbury in as well. There you go. You've got 4 followers now. 100% increase thanks to ABW. Go on, Chris.
Shut up.
Yes.
To all the people that did 10K, well done, everybody, because it was really, really fun. It's the first
Did
time
anybody
I've
get
ever.
bitten by a shark?
Not that I'm aware of, but
No,
we
you weren't
did
in the
run.
fucking sea, that's why.
But we did run for them, and we made some excellent money. I think between team of 6 of us, we made $4,500, which is superb. But they do some great work. They're at Sharks Trust UK or at Shark Trust UK.
They really do.
Well, they help sort of conservation in the oceans, and they help protect sharks. And for those people who don't know and don't care because they like fluffy creatures, but shark finning is a very serious thing. Raj will know a bit about this.
Illegal shooting.
Traveling the many oceans, he does. But no, they catch live sharks, they defin them and throw them back alive to drown. A very painful death, and it's a horrific thing that happens to them. And sharks are very important to the ocean's conservation. So, if you believe in that sort of thing, pop along, maybe show me your support. And thanks to everybody who donated for me. I really appreciate it.
I'd run from a fucking shark and all.
Gimli's a fan. He loves puppies, didn't you, Gimli?
Yeah, I do.
You have fucking trouble running in the ocean, mate.
Not when it's frozen, mate.
Yeah. How'd you like them apples? Jace, come on then, seeing as you've piped up.
Okay, my shout out. We've mentioned Charles M. Hatfield and we've mentioned Big Jimmy Howson. So another one of the guys who listens to the radio regularly is Gitto at Gitto Cockram. So that's at GUTOCOCKRAM.
And to those who want to speak it in English, it's Gutto, not Gitto.
Gitto. It's Gitto.
Gutto. G-U-T-T-O. Gutto.
I like his surname.
I will fucking end you.
Oh, well, are you going to kill first, me or him?
You.
Oh, shit.
He will kill you with his cockram.
Yes.
I'm trying to find Rambo's left foot to follow.
Oh, I've just followed him with the Hybrian and the podcast. What would be a good way for you to get someone to kill someone, Jace? Just put them in goal and get.
I'll just make them listen back to this.
Coughlin to shoot balls at them. I mean, it'd be days before any of them got hit.
They'll never get a drink of water.
Yeah, they die of starvation. And you can go 3 weeks without food.
Or actually, have them just standing in the box waiting for a pass from Coughlin.
Or a shot on target from Ozil.
Also, I should say as well, FK, have you got a shout out?
It's gone. Banned.
No,
he's never coming on again.
Gone.
No,
He's gone.
fuck him. If he's going to come on and be potty mouth, we're not having it. It's the last time you'll ever hear him.
No, apparently he's gone. He'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. He said.
He's got a mouthful, I believe.
I think he just had a pube in his teeth or something like that.
Oh, boys.
Oh, poor FK.
I had Wenger down as a shaven warrior like Chris.
Oh God, please
who
don't.
knew?
Please
Who knew?
don't.
No.
Jesus.
A shaven warrior.
Danny, I don't think it's him that has to be shaved.
No?
I think it's the person who's
I don't know how this works.
No.
The shavee or the shaver?
Did he have a sack back and crack?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's not Christmas
And
yet,
it depends.
Jace.
It depends if they went half time, change ends.
Yeah, to be fair, I do like Chris's bob. He reminds me of
I genuinely thought you were going to say balls then. What?
No.
They are freshly done, but Jesus.
To be fair,
I
mate,
know. God, Jason, I know who his haircut reminds me of. He looks a bit like He-Man.
Very good.
he looks a bit like Phil Oakley from the Human League circa 1980s.
Somebody else said it was a bit Nick Carter circa Backstreet Boys 94, which I was quite happy with that. But I like He-Man. That's good. That's very good. Thank you.
He-Man's blonde and isn't tatted up.
Well, true, but it is a very bob.
And
Yeah.
his chest.
Well, yeah, there is that.
It was just that we were led in bed the other morning, and Kate goes,
Well, me and you.
No. No, me and Kate, obviously, who, by the way, I've given her my shout out. That's at Gooner Girl Kate, our 5-year anniversary this week. She's now common law, which means I've got to be careful. Right, anyway. But the point that I was trying to make was, we were in bed and she goes, "What has he done to his hair?" And I'm like, "Ooh." And then she showed me a picture of you, Chris, and I just put my head in my hands. I couldn't respond. There was nothing that I had. I didn't have the words.
I'm not being funny, Kim McCarran. I said to the radio show the other day, but when you rock up in a hotel room and Chris Carpenter walks in and says, "Oh, I hope they've got a hairdryer. I've only brought my hair straighteners with me."
I spent sheer minutes finding that thing, didn't I? Scouring it.
He was
it.
panicking.
Hey, Chris, are your hair straighteners gold plated?
No, they're only cheap ones, I'm afraid. Babyliss. Others are available.
No, they're not.
Maybe.
Right, my hello is going to go to Mike and Andy and Mike, from the Gooners in USA. I'm sure there should be the in there somewhere, but I don't think they could fit it. So that's at Gooners in USA podcast. I was with them for their 13th pod this season, and it was an absolute joy because they were a couple of twats. So I said I'm going to try and get them. I'm going to try and get Andy on a radio show because much like Shredder. And OG and Dom, trying to get them on a normal podcast is impossible due to the time differences. So yeah, it's a really good podcast.
Who we are? They should be awake.
They should be.
We should have them on a main show.
Yeah, we could do, but then Mike would just get all sexual with us and eat all kinds of pizza and then get drunk and sick on himself.
Mike likes baconators, and Andy's got a baby. So
do we have time to just say an honourable hello to OG as well? Because
love that man.
It's just OG, isn't it?
He's meant to be coming on around Thanksgiving. He's off that week, and he said he's going to hopefully come on the pod.
He's been leading Max astray this last week.
No.
Yes. He took Max out on the beer the other day. Oh,
I
yes.
saw the picture.
Mrs.
Bottle
OG's
in hand.
listening. Oh, dear.
Not good. Boys are drunk
chores
like
day.
his father already.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I miss OG.
He's
I
a
miss
wizard,
more.
don't you know?
Just a little update. I've still not posted the books, and you know that Arsenal shirt you gave us to give away 2 seasons ago, Jace? It's still here.
It's now used as toilet roll.
Oh, and do you remember my part of that giveaway was they were going to win my coffee cup?
Yeah.
Fucking broke it this week.
Well, there you go. They saved them. It was faulty.
You can give them call in the sock.
Oh, no.
I told you he's fucking gone. He's gone.
I bet he's behind you.
Sadness. I can hear him crispy, stiffened up.
Oh,
like a
God.
treat.
And she's had stomach cramps this week, so I'm fucking overflowing.
Do you know what?
End this nonsense.
For a shit week of football, this has been quite funny. I'm quite enjoying this.
Yeah.
You didn't
Right,
laugh.
Gimli, Raj has got to go. He's just stuff.
He's chomping at the bit.
Domino's
literally.
closing.
I think it is. It's shutting down.
Did you ever eat Domino's, Raj, or is it normally your local place that you go to, or do you go to an Italian to buy?
Hadrian's Pizza is where the pizzas are these days in Acton. So
If they want to sponsor us, you can sponsor us for £3 a show.
No, they don't want to sponsor you.
£2? Quid.
Maybe
We're
a bit of
£12 in
pizza.
debt.
Can they
Could
email
do.
pizza?
We're £12 in debt. We need a pound build they can do. We can have the entire season for £1.
Who have we got on next week then, Gim?
Danny does the lineups. Danny knows who's on. I believe it might be Jeff.
Jeff Hollick, and then we're gonna get somebody else on. So we've had one cancellation.
Where's
and then
Fifey? I miss Fifey.
He's been in South America and he has come back full of baboon AIDS.
That'll be drugs. That'll be drugs.
Yes. So that
He's
baboon
about to
spunk.
propose, actually.
Is he?
Engaged, yeah.
Bless him. We'll all be invited to his party. We will.
I think he proposed on Saturday, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah.
He doesn't inform us of things like that anymore.
Congratulations, Fifey.
Well, I'm fine.
Say yes. I mean, what woman wouldn't?
Well,
yes.
Or man.
On that happy note, Gimli, wrap this shit up.
I was going to say, I noticed Fifey, he looks like that old boy from Emmerdale.
What, Amos Braley?
No.
What, Lenny Henry?
No, the one with the glasses.
So racist.
Sir?
Oh, that blonde bird.
No, he's got dark hair and glasses.
Oh, that
Benny.
Jeremy
that
Beadle.
woman with no legs.
Or was that
Harry
No,
Crossroads?
it's not fucking Seth either.
Oh, the
Harry
big thing
Potter.
they get the milk from, this black and white thing.
Oh, you're a bucket of buttholes, the lot of you.
He looks
Right.
like Harry
It's a
Potter.
bag of dicks.
Yeah, bag of dicks. Right then, all that's left then is to thank my wonderful guests tonight. Jason, Raj, Chris, Danny, you had to be here, as did I.
As did you. Thank you very much for being here yet again. It's been emotional.
Oh, I've almost forgotten how to podcast. It's been 2 weeks. But we should be back next week
Yes.
when hopefully we will have a special announcement on a up-and-coming guest. But we will see. Right, so that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Hello!
Good hand, dog. Oh, hoi, hoi, cheeky monkeys, and here's a little bit of shenanigans from before the podcast started.
Got it.
And it is actually a serious question because...
Are you on Tinder?
Yes. Yes, I am.
No.
Oh, okay.
Can everyone see that in the chat box?
What?
Hang on.
There's a letter.
Hold on.
All right,
No.
I'll tell you what, Raj. I'm going to send something to you on WhatsApp. If you have a read of it, and then get back to me what you
That
think.
sounds ominous.
It does sound ominous. Ominous.
It's easy for you to say. Oh, I think the wind has finally got to East Anglia.
It's fucking blowing a gale here.
You sent
It's
it.
always fucking
Coming
blowing
through now.
a gale up there. It is. Merthyr one of the highest places in Wales.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's bonkers up there.
Chase, did you watch that Valleys program?
No, I
did.
was.
Oh my god, you love it.
I was going to text you and say, "Are you going to be on this?"
Not yet.
No. Mate, this you've got to watch it, okay? I've only seen the adverts, but it's a different fucking world. And when I watch it, I remember working in Tonopandi and thinking, "Oh my god,
That's a made-up name.
Tonopandi."
Interesting.
Didn't he play for West Brom in the 1970s?
That's Tony Hadley. Oh no, wait, hang on, he's someone else.
It's Fireman Sam's and Pontypandy, okay?
I'll tell you what, Chase, they do paint it in a worse light than what it is. Because honestly, I've been on the gunners. I've never had any trouble in my life. They make out like it's fucking Beirut.
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's like they highlight these guys. They don't show the little old lady who lives 2 doors down and stuff like that. You know, who goes to chapel and what have you. It's always the same. They it's made for TV, isn't it?
But these people live by a certain set of rules that they ain't difficult to follow. Don't fuck with other people. They won't fuck with you.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
quite simple. If you stick your nose in other people's business or you fuck someone over, expect to be fucked over yourself.
Yeah, and that's the way it is.
Actually, Kim, can you turn yours up? No, leave yours where it is, Jace.
Okay.
Oh, okay, how do I do that? Tools?
No, you should just have on your headset, volume up. The thing with the little mute on it, you've got a plus and minus there. Click on the plus.
I'm sorry, say that again. Kate just told me the Anthony Joshua fight might be in doubt.
Good. On the little mute button on the headset, you have a plus and minus. Press the plus, that turns the volume up.
Why is it in doubt?
Shit and fixed.
Because Pulev's just picked up an injury.
Oh.
Poo love.
It's a shoulder muscle injury.
Kim,
What?
fuck boxing. Press plus. Have you done it?
I've pressed plus.
Right, now say something not rude or abusive towards me.
All right. Danny likes Pulev.
Right, press that plus again.
I'm on 90, 92, 94, 96.
Oh, there you go. Leave it on that. Just count to
96.
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right, Raj, stop doing your sex breathing. Say something that isn't.
Derogative to Danny.
Yeah,
Hello there.
that's good, Chris.
Hello there.
Right, everyone is peaking at about the same point. It's much like an orgy of nonsense.
I will warn everybody before we go into the podcast.
I'm very stoned.
I've got a bit of a bad belly.
Very big poo.
So if at some point
You've had how many shits today? 3?
I had 3 before I even got out of bed this morning.
You know what that is, didn't you? Because you're full of shit.
It is. Not in the bed.
I do like that West Brom midfield with Barry and Couturier. You're not going to get much past those, are you?
I think you should watch it, Danny. Watch Valley Cops and then let me know what you think.
I will do. Right, it's 1 minute past 8.
Who's doing the summary today?
Yeah, Raj is.
No, not me.
no sexual breathing into your microphone, Raj. Remember that.
I'm not breathing. I'm not breathing.
The ladies can't listen to an entire pod of you doing it because they have to go off somewhere and relieve themselves in a corner.
It's normally you that does the heavy breathing.
I don't breathe.
And then you mute yourself when you have to eat, like crisps or nuts or some shit like that.
So basically, mutes himself for an hour and a half then.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I've got nothing. I've got 2 things of camembert in the fridge.
I wait for the point where we go to Danny randomly, because I like to do it randomly. So then he's got a mouthful of food, and then it just goes quiet.
I'm not eating.
Wait for that moment in the podcast, people, when Danny gets asked a question and there's dead air.
That kind of cheese is how you get that animal out of a cave, you know.
Kim, have we got an agenda?
Yes, we do.
Come on, Bear.
It was.
Yeah,
do you know what, actually,
hates
it's
the
always
Welsh. That's his agenda.
a podcast when we've been shit.
I'll do the summary if you want.
All right. I had Kris down as doing it, but it
Cool.
doesn't really.
Yes, crack on.
Hang on, what am I doing?
The summary, the talk about the game.
I've forgotten how to do this now. It's been that long. Okay. Yeah, I got a few things to throw in, so that's cool.
And here's some more shenanigans after the podcast ended.
Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Hello!
Good hand, dog.
Couldn't just let it go for one episode, could you?
No, I couldn't.
No.
I really couldn't. I nearly did at the beginning, to be fair.
It was like a small child holding in a poo. It was coming out whether he wanted it to or not.
I was thinking to do it when you said Lord of Kris.
Danny, just while it's fresh in my head, you might want to take out the bit about Didier Drogba.
Yes, you might want to take that bit out. Yeah.
That's not good. That's not going to. It was a totally true story, but it's not. That will not go down well. I might do it.
Gav will like it.
I think that's a wise decision.
Something like it.
Oh, fuck me. Did anyone know where it was?
You
Oh,
cannot
no.
leave that in there. I will have to delete my Twitter account. I believe it's called
And
Ring
move
of
address.
Gordon.
I got people. You'd have to move to fucking Gloucester. No, they don't give a damn.
Oh, dear.
He looked like 12 Didier Drogba.
Like you know when you're going into a game on FIFA and you got your team lined up. Because normally I like my smiley faces, Tom Daly, right? But this has gone way. It was about 3 hours past Tom Daly at 180 degrees,
Good.
and it was a fan oven.
Oh, Jesus.
Should I say fan
Words fail me.
assisted?
You're going to be marching in Charlottesville soon. I like my smiley face as Tom Daly.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
A little bit tan, but not
you know
too...
Tom Daly is, Danny?
Of course I bloody do. Lovely
Well,
gentleman.
that's what colour I like my smiley faces.
He's from down here, don't you know?
Oh dear.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
Right,
Right.
guys, I've got to go.
I already know Raj
Hey,
was
good to
offended
speak to
by
you, pal.
that.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Good to speak to you, Kris and
Cheers,
Jason.
Have you back on?
Kris, the Alien Covenant DVD extras are amazing, aren't they?
Yes, I really like David Rad.
Fucking hell.
But-
They put a lot of money into that as well.
But the new storyline direction I do not like for the next one.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't
Okay.
tell me. No, don't tell me. I'll look it up myself.
I won't tell you. Just look up the
Okay.
Ridley Scott quotes. Ugh. See you,
Oh,
mate.
right.
On
With
Thursday,
you,
by the way.
Raj.
Cheers, mate. See you there.
Cheers,
See you
bye.
later.
Take care, pal.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's just made more work for me then, hasn't it?
Yeah. You got to find
Lovely.
it now.
Hold on. I can see if I can find out roughly what time it was.
About 10 o'clock-ish, didn't it?
Yeah.
I need a cup of tea and I need to go to bed. I need my sandwiches for the morning.
What are you going to have? Disappointment? You seem the kind of person that would have ham and jam only because
No.
they rhyme and you can't pronounce either.
No, I'm going to have tuna, a little dab of mayonnaise and some onion.
You wrongin'.
I thought you were going to have Welsh rabbit.
Oh, Jace, send
Oh.
me your address. I need to send you this stuff. I keep forgetting.
What stuff?
Your stuff from the tour and everything. And your
Oh,
Charlie
Sky.
Nicholas picture. Your Charlie George picture.
Charlie George, superstar. How many goals have you scored so far?
That's the one.
Me and Charlie, down with the kids.
Yeah. God bless him. I shall
That
send it
means
to
a
you.
different thing nowadays.
Hey, not the Jimmy Savile type.
Ping me your Addy and I shall get it in the post this week.
Cheers, bro. Thank you very much. I forgot about that.
So did I till I found it.
I can imagine.